2024, hosted by Vidyalankar Group. I, Smita Mukherjee, a faculty member and researcher with a passion for human resources and organizational development. As someone deeply invested in shaping the future of HR, I am delighted to host this summit, which serves as a platform for shaping insights and best practices among our community of distinguished professionals. It is my privilege to welcome you to our annual HR Summit, where the brightest mind in the field come together to explore, discuss, and reimagine the future of human resources. Today, we stand at the crossroads of transformative change, with workplaces evolving faster than ever before. It is our honor to have a such distinguished gathering of industry leaders, HR professionals, experts, and academicians, all coming together under one roof to shape the future of leadership. The annual HR Summit 2024 aims to inspire, educate, and connect people while focusing on building strong partnerships between industry and academia to create future-ready leaders. The session planned for today will be led by renowned industry experts who will share interesting perspectives. We encourage you to participate actively in the discussions, ask thought-provoking questions, and network with fellow professionals. Now, signifying knowledge and enlightenment, just as a simple lamp can light thousands without losing its brightness, may this summit ignite a spark of learning and inspiration in all of us today. I now call upon Principal Dr. Sangeeta Joshi, Vice Principal Dr. Varsha Bhosle, and esteemed speaker, Dr. Amit Oak, to come on the stage for the lamp lighting ceremony.
Symbolic. Okay. A, B, and C. All right. Okay. Here you go.
Yeah.
One more.
As an auspicious ritual, we request you all to stand for the Saraswati Vandana.
या कुन्देन्दुतुषारहारधवला या शुभ्रवस्त्रावृता या वीणावरदण्डमण्डितकरा या श्वेतपद्मासना या ब्रह्माच्युतशङ्करप्रभृतिभिर्देवैः सदा वन्दिता सा मां पातु सरस्वती भगवती निःशेष जाड्यापहा.
Thank you, everyone. I request all of you to be seated now. May the light of this lamp guide our discussions, inspire new ideas, and fill this summit with the radiance of possibilities. Now I request the technical team to play the AVs.
Vidyalankar is not just a name. It is a tradition of excellence. Here, reliability and dedication towards students go hand in hand. Dedication and commitment to shape future generations is the driving force behind Vidyalankar. The journey of Vidyalankar started with its founder, Chandrasekhar Sadashiv Deshpande. Born in a small town, Fulton, of Satara district on 19th May 1932, C.S. Deshpande completed his education under extremely difficult financial conditions. C.S. Deshpande went on to complete his Inter-Science examination in 1950 from Willingdon College, Sangli. He not only stood first in Inter-Science, but also won all the university prizes and scholarships in all the subjects. After completing his BE in Electronics and Telecommunications from the College of Engineering, Pune, he joined the prestigious TIFR, Tata Institute of Fundamental Research, in 1953 as a research scholar in Nuclear Particle Accelerator section. The research scholar applied himself to the job, but he had always also believed that in order to bring out one's best, one needed to be happy in one's job. And Chandrasekhar was not happy at the TIFR. He realized that his intrinsic interest was in the field of teaching and writing mathematics. He made yet another attempt in the hope of happiness. He appeared for the All India Engineering Services examination. Not surprisingly, he secured the first rank in this All India competitive examination. He was posted in the Indian Railway Service of Engineers as a Class 1 gazetted officer and worked in the railway electrification project at Calcutta for a few years. But alas, his restlessness and misery persisted, and he continued to miss his mathematics. He decided to follow his heart. He did take the unconventional decision of resigning from the IRSE to return to Mumbai to start his own academic institute. On the auspicious day of Dasara in October 1960, he made a modest beginning by launching his own AMIE classes. His philosophy was reflected in choosing the name for his institute, Vidyalankar. Vidyalankar was meant to be a place of learning, when knowledge was considered the sole ornament to adorn or beautify a person. Vidyalankar started functioning in the rented classroom of Shardashram School of Dadar. Finally, in 1974, it arrived at Pearl Center, its present premises in Dadar. Thus, the basic objective of establishing Vidyalankar was neither commercial nor merely to earn a livelihood. The driving force was to satisfy the inner urge of dedicating oneself to academic pursuit. Passion was to guide the eager young students with a missionary zeal. Goal was to enhance their worthiness and imbibe the nobler values of life in their receptive minds. Not by merely empty words, but by setting one's own example. While chasing his dream, C.S. Deshpande was not alone. His wife, Sanjeevani, was there with him all along. She was closely associated with Vidyalankar right from its inception. Vidyalankar was life for Chandrasekhar Deshpande. He was doing what he truly enjoyed. He would himself teach multiple subjects and work 7 days a week without any holidays. He firmly believed in work is worship. In 1992, his son Vishwas joined Vidyalankar. Chandrasekhar and Vishwas worked as a team and strategized the growth plan of Vidyalankar. It was the beautiful partnership between them which put the institute on a dream run which is going full throttle every day. Every year saw substantial growth. With respect to setting up new centers, appointing qualified personnel, setting up systems, Vidyalankar's journey continued with full steam. From a single classroom set up in 1960, Vidyalankar today runs multiple centers spread across Mumbai and is now expanding to the whole of Maharashtra. With a dream to set up one's engineering degree college, Vidyalankar applied to government in 1998. This dream became a reality in 1999. In 2002, 2 more colleges were set up, namely Vidyalankar Polytechnic and Vidyalankar School of Information Technology. In 2003, Vidyalankar started constructing a college building. Vidyalankar wanted to build something remarkable. The college building had to express the will of the institution to progress in a progressive environment and to build a campus that best embodies its cherished values. The growth of Vidyalankar is now being carried forward by the next generation. Vishwas Deshpande and his wife Namrata, sister Rashmi and Avinash all are highly qualified and educated in top schools in India and US. Once a small seed, Vidyalankar has now become a sprawling tree, embracing several generations and putting them on the right path. Students of Vidyalankar have made their mark across the globe. Over the years, Vidyalankar has grown not only in numbers but also in quality of education. What have remained unchanged are its core values. Passion to mold young generation for a better India has become even stronger as the years pass by.
I now call upon Dr. Amit Tok for the opening address. Dr. Amit Tok is a Chief Operations Officer at Vidyalankar Institute of Technology and Dean of Vidyalankar School of Management. In his role as the COO, he manages the operations of the institute, strategizes on the budgetary allocations, supervises the financial management and accounts, directs the student council activities, guides the student council team on budgeting and sponsorship, and looks into the smooth execution of department and institute events. With his rich and varied experience in the corporate world in training and mentorship roles, media and film finance, and financial services marketing, he imparts many practical and result oriented lessons in management to the students' community. I would now request Dr. Amit Tok sir to please give an opening address.
Thank you, Smita. Good morning and namaskar. Honorable dignitaries on the dais, dignitaries from the HR fraternity, dignitaries from Vidyalankar Jnanapeeth Trust, VIT, VSIT and VP faculty members, principals, colleagues from Vidyalankar group of institutions, the august invitee audience gathered today, parents and my dear students. It is my great pleasure as the COO and Dean of Department of Management Studies to welcome you all for the maiden HR Summit organized by the Vidyalankar Group in association with IMC Chamber of Commerce. Adopting a strategic, mindful and human-centric approach to HR is not just an option, but a critical necessity in today's fast-paced business landscape. Today, it is a need for humanizing workforce to manage diversity and to adopt inclusivity. HR as a function is undergoing transformative shifts, with its role being constantly redefined to meet evolving demands. In today's new age business landscape, fostering the culture of diversity, equity, inclusion and belongingness, as called as DEIB, is much more than just a moral responsibility. It is a business imperative. The how of doing a business is becoming more important than the what of business. From adopting to changing workforce needs to harnessing cutting edge tools and technology for a future ready organization. The landscape of HR is rapidly evolving. Prioritizing employee experience, embracing DEIB, and delivering consistent business and social value have emerged as foundational pillars of this transformation. In today's various sessions, we will decode the latest expectations of HR from the stakeholder community and set the course for our collective journey forward. As organizations navigate an increasingly dynamic and complex landscape, the role of human resources is undergoing a profound transformation. Today's HR Summit is set in this context, comprehensively encompassing various facets of aligning HR with business aspirations. This summit emphasizes the strategic alignment of HR with business objectives, the enhancement of employee experience, and the integration of technology to drive organizational effectiveness. By exploring these critical shifts, the event will equip HR professionals with the insights and tools required to lead in this new era. As the business environment continues to evolve, it is crucial for HR to decode its new mandate and contribute effectively to organizational success. Through knowledge sharing, collaborative discussions, and actionable strategies, the summit will provide a platform to shape the future of work, focusing on key areas like employability, engagement, and experience. The summit will also explore the human side of work and the evolving landscape of compensation and rewards. The impact of AI, a multi-generational workforce, and a dynamic business environment will be touchpoints too. Today's summit have a bouquet, thought-provoking keynotes and panel discussions that address the most pressing challenges faced by HR professionals today. Today we will explore how digital transformation, AI and analytics are revolutionizing HR practices and future-proofing organizations. Ladies and gentlemen, all of us are living in a new era of agile governance, which seeks to deal with the rapid changes and challenges in society fueled by technological revolution. To effectively respond to such challenges and changes, policymaking should be up to date, inclusive, adaptive, smart, human centered, and most important, sustainable. This implies that policy development is no longer limited to government, but rather, I'll not say government, governance, but rather in extended to an increasingly multi-stakeholder effort. To this end, new models of public non-public collaborative governance, which can be bolstered by e-governance, e-commerce, public-private exchange activities and involvement of citizens in decision-making processes. To help explore and formulate strategic initiatives for such needs, I now open this summit under the theme of shaping the future of leadership. Distinguished participants, in this time of economic growth, a winner-take-all corporate structure is accelerating. It brings about greater public responsibility to elevate the polarization of job opportunities, income inequality, and economic displacement facing most of countries, including India. Ladies and gentlemen, with a large number of guests from around the HR fraternity here today, the information, knowledge, experiences, and practices to be shared during the summit will be diverse and I expect useful. The success of this summit depends on how active involvement of all of us, speakers, panel members, audience members, and support staff. I greatly appreciate your active involvement. A true inspirational dream is something that does not let you sleep. I hope that all of you here today will find something motivational and dynamic that will not let you sleep. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Amitok. I would now like to invite our keynote speaker for the day, Mr. Sameer Tamhane. It is a pleasure to introduce Mr. Sameer Tamhane, a senior HR professional and certified career coach with 30 plus years of extensive experience in human resource management and administration, along with associate areas of training, organizational development, manpower development, competency framework development, and leadership initiatives. At IPCA Laboratories, he exemplifies excellence in HR strategies and execution as Senior Vice President of Human Resources. Prior to IPCA Laboratories, he was Director, Bristlecone Limited, a Mahindra Group company, and GM HR Learning and Development at Mahindra and Mahindra Limited. His other work stints include companies like Godrej and Boyce Manufacturing Company Limited and Premier Automobiles Limited. His expertise in human resource processes and facilitation saw him effectively leading initiatives in change management, business process re-engineering.
लवकरच राष्ट्रगीत सुरू होईल. राष्ट्रगीताच्या सन्मानार्थ सर्वांनी उभे राहावे.
I request everyone to stand for the national anthem, please.
We shall now play national anthem. Please stand in respect of the national anthem. जल्द ही राष्ट्रगीत शुरू होगा. राष्ट्रगीत के सम्मान में सभी जनगण खड़े हो जाएं.
So just to give you a background, we play national anthem daily to inculcate the habit and thought that nation comes first, and we did it today as well. So yeah, now let us continue with the summit. So I was introducing Mr. Sameer Tamhane. So his expertise in human processes and facilitation saw him effectively leading initiatives in change management, business process re-engineering, performance management system, and balanced scorecard implementation, among others. His contributions are recognized in handling complex HR issues across geographies, mergers and acquisition, including due diligence and integration, and enhancing organizational structures. Coming to his education, Mr. Tamhane did his Masters in Human Resource Development from Ellen Wellinger Institute of Management and Development Research. He is a professional certified coach as accredited by an International Coaching Federation. He is also a qualified independent director through Institute of Corporate Affairs and Ministry of Corporate Affairs. Mr. Tamhane is a life member of National HRD Framework, president of Rotary Club of Mumbai, life member of Worldwide Fund Bombay, Natural History Society, and a member of Institute of Directors. Sir, I now request you to give a keynote address to the audience.
Good morning. So how's the Josh? Great. So first of all, let me thank the Institute for inviting me here to this August gathering and delivering a keynote speech in front of the great professionals sitting on the first row and the rows behind also. So it's a great pleasure to be here, and maybe I'm coming here for the second time. Earlier I used to come to drop my daughter for the Pradnya examinations that used to be conducted about 15-20 years back here. I had also come for her engineering admission. She chose to go somewhere else, but nevertheless, I have been associated with the institute, seeing it grow, and as it grew, it's great. Been in Shivaji Park, so we knew this institute from childhood. So it's great to be here and to talk about something which I have passion about. The topic today that we are going to talk about is on shaping future leadership. Now, I'll try to use different lingos because I see a variety of generations sitting here. So I have not said that this is a presentation, this is a deck. Is that right? Yeah. So, this mic, right? So this is more comfortable, I think so. Okay. I'll talk about the 4 points, that is the role of leadership and how it impacts business, because we're going to talk about business more. The leadership in the Gen Z and how they see it in the new age leadership, because I'll be focusing on various generations and then we'll talk about that, and the role of HR in shaping this and how it's going to help, what's going to happen, etc. So in an organization of today, we have these 4 generations. The alpha is not yet coming, but we have these, that is the baby boomers, few of them, the Gen X, we have the millennials and the Gen Z. The challenges that all of us face are known to everyone, and the statements which are made by these first 2 generations, with all due respect because I fall in Gen X, is हमारे ज़माने में ऐसा नहीं होता था, हमारे ज़माने में ऐसा होता था, etc. etc. So these two generations rely on the laurels. But who are we handling? These two generations, that is the millennials and Gen Z, who are more interested in having it their way. Okay? And getting work done from these two is a different ball game than without what we had earlier. Not that organizations did not have generations earlier, they had. But with the information technology and the digital age and generative AI, the information is easily available. So ज्ञान नहीं बांट सकते हम लोग, no? ज्ञान तो आपके पास है. We have to give you something else, and that is learning. We have to give you enthusiasm. We can give you thinking. The tactical knowledge maybe you are not having. The tacit knowledge is something that can be provided by these generations. With due respect to these two generations that we are looking at, and these two generations also, what motivates a Gen Z does not motivate a baby boomer. So all the four generations have to respect each other, because what is good for me is not great for someone else. So I have just put on some of the facets here, that is defining traits, the core values. If you look at the values, baby boomers feel that hard work, loyalty, financial security and achievement is important. Whereas a Gen Z, individuality, authenticity, recognition and mental health is important. So their needs are different. If as an HR professional, as a leader, I understand the needs of people, I can address them easily, rather than forcing my needs and my policies on you. The policies are made mostly by these two generations in most of the companies, barring the startups. Startups, you will have a lot of people here and none here. But the policies of current age companies are made here for the people who are sitting here. So maybe 10% of the population is making policies for the 90% of the population whose needs are different. And फिर हम बोलते हैं मजा नहीं आ रहा है. मजा कैसे आएगा? But then for making these policies, can a baby boomer and a Gen X become a Gen Z? Acting तो कर सकता है, but FOMO करके होगा. FOMO पता है? Fear of missing out है, उसके लिए वो करेगा. But otherwise, he can't become that. But he needs to understand, he, she, anyone needs to understand that. These are the traits which I mentioned here. Various are there. How to lead from se leke the other on the what is important for each of us. Now, if you look at the evolving role of leadership in the business realm, in today's circumstances, what we see is the corporate leadership has to be inclusive, as Sir was talking about various points here. That is, it has to be adaptive and inclusive approaches required. In the yesteryears, we were talking of top-down. That is gone. It has to be a mix. Top-down, bottom-up, across, everything. So involvement of people is required. And if you'll see, many companies have gone in for shadow boards. What are these shadow boards? These are boards of youngsters who sit on the board and give ideas. And those ideas are sometimes very, very useful and help the organization to take it to the greater heights. The emphasis on the emotional intelligence and the engagement of team and fostering trust and collaboration is important. Now here the emotional intelligence is required for a leader, as in the yesteryears or in the different generations, it was do whatever I tell you, because this is done this way. The way has changed today. But yes, the organizations cannot forget that profit is required. So you have to keep an eye on the financials, at the same time see that we make profits or we achieve the goals. I'm not saying only for profits, there could be other NGOs who are working for different objectives in life, they achieve those objectives. The corporate leaders must embrace the other things, that is sustainability, green has come, social responsibility, we have CSR everywhere you see. So it's important that we embrace this rather than calling this as a responsibility. It is our ownership. It should be in our blood to do something for the society and give back to the society as the society has given us something to grow. Now, when we talk of generations, I have not spoken about the diversity. Here, earlier, sir was talking about DEI. And DEI is so important. In many organizations, they are looking at DEI in a different way. DEI, when we say diversity, it is not only the generations, gender, we talk of races, we talk of religions, we talk of specially abled people, we talk of armed forces, we need to consider all in the entire gamut of things. And the respect. As a leader, how do we handle? See, there are ways of handling as a leader. No, we'll be talking about when we come to the panelists who will be sharing their views on all this. The ways of looking at generations is also important. At the same time, it is important to look at genders and respect. No, rather than look at it differently, it is respect that needs to be given to another human being. The other person who is there at a junior level or at different levels, one needs to respect, because one needs to realize that I was also there in that level or that level of understanding at some point of my career. So let's take a vibe check. You know what is a vibe check? Yes or no? The Gen Zs are thinking, should I answer, should I not, should I smile? Some of them are smiling, the rest are thinking, ye kya abhi hai, naya kuch funda hai lagta hai. So let's take a vibe check. I suppose it is positive vibes only, and let's look at leadership qualities that you admire most in a leader. So each person will look at a leader in a different way. Acha bhashan karta is a great leader. No, promotes me is a great leader. Teaches me is a great leader, coaches me is a great leader, challenges me is a great leader, helps me is a great leader, or gives me some knowledge is a great leader. What is a great leader quality that you look in a leader is for you to introspect. As HR professionals, we also need to look at what is the requirement of an organization. Each organization requires different type of leaderships at different instances and growth in the organization. Each organization is at a different level of maturity. A younger organization will require a different type of leadership qualities, whereas a more mature organization will require different types. Although wide and spread, the organization will require similar type of leadership qualities. Sorry, I'm focusing only on the Gen Z and the new leadership age leaders. The reason being that the earlier two generations have reached the leadership levels. Now these two have to reach. And I am in the institute today, so I consider that most of you would be looking at this generation getting into leaders and would be fostering them to get into leadership positions. That's the reason I'm talking about these aspects more. Authenticity is an important tool that needs to be seen in action, not on values only, because on charts it is mentioned or in a presentation it can be seen, but it should be seen in action on daily life. Inclusivity and diversity we spoke about. The purpose-driven leadership is required for any aspect. Work-life balance is an interesting thing. And today, the panelists, we were discussing over a cup of tea about work-life balance. And work from anywhere is the concept. Rather than work from home, work from office, now work from anywhere. And we were also discussing about a very interesting thing which the panelists will talk, boredom. And how boredom can set in. And how can you as younger generation look at boredom? Why does it set in? As an introspective, you have to think. Why does it set in? Empathy and emotional intelligence is an aspect. Digital fluency. Now, this is an important one. Most of the generations have become fairly digital savvy. Email to aata hai, Zoom, etc., WhatsApp, and so calls. All those things they have become. But can that be enough? This is a basic necessity. It's like having food today. No, do you know how to have food and survive? Wala chakkar hai ye. So digital is a basic thing. Now beyond that, what can you do? Are you analytical? Is the leader more very analytical? Can he think and look at data in a different perspective? Can that data help you to analyze what you need to do as in future? Can data be used for future actions, for current actions? Can a leader ask difficult questions? Difficult questions are really difficult sometimes for people to answer. At the same time, it is an introspective thing for the leader itself. Can those questions be, say, posed to himself? Can he introspect himself? Because always it is said in organizations, there are three things that happen. One is managing yourself, then you try to manage your teams, and then you can manage the organization. Whereas some of the leaders feel that I have a lot of knowledge, so I can manage all three. But one forgets that first is you have to manage yourself, whether it is health, your mental state, your motivation level, your knowledge base, and so on. And then you go to manage your teams, and then you can manage an organization. Agility and resilience is important, and agility is required everywhere in every facet of life. If a human being has to live, he has to move. So, move is really move. It's not just move means chota sa haath hilaya, thoda sa initiative le liya, to nahi. That's not movement. No, really move fast is something that is required, and think fast. Now I'll show you two slides. One is this slide which talks about the HR's role in shaping. Some of these things are very mundane, which you will see. That strategic partnership. One is the leadership development programs, succession planning, and culture of continuous learning. These are important, and there can be various aspects to this. The same thing, if I show in a different slide, it will appeal to the audience which is sitting little behind. The same thing, but it appeals. There are some people who have got their mobiles out and they're taking photograph of this. So why does this happen? Because this earlier slide is showing the same thing, but I have put it or presented in such a fashion which is not great. No, you would be, theek hai, ye to strategic hai. But this, okay, this is something, learning hackers, good term, na? Insight analysts. So these terms, click with us. And it's not only clicking with the younger generation, it is also clicking with all of us who are in this. So what has happened as all those four generations have become more younger, and means the first two generations also are looking at themselves as recycled teenagers. Isn't it? So these are things that the HR needs to do and are doing. The talent Sherpa. If I say talent management, theek hai, talent Sherpa hai koi to. So the person also feels a little proud of taking someone to the top of the mountain. You know the role of a Sherpa, right? So that's the word that has been used here. So these are terms which are used, which has meaning and can be helpful for anyone. I come to this chart which talks of leadership in new age and old school. The spelling is also changed. Okay, so I won't say that is red and green or red and blue, but it's just a color that is represented here. Please don't take me wrong from that aspect. But what is the power and how you look at power here is two different things. Now here we talked of dictating. Here we are talking of evolving, going along with people and coming up with a solution. Here we are talking of communication, which is everything is confidential. And here it is, communication, setting expectations and then being open, at the same time being collaborative about it. Here we're talking of people. When we talk of people, we talk of rewarding, but as a community we feel difficult as Indians to reward. नहीं तो वो चढ़ बैठेगा, ज़्यादा उसको चढ़ाओ मत. All those statements keep on coming. But here we are talking of small rewards that can come and future career. Gone are the days when we talked of career development for 10 years, 5 years. No one knows what's going to happen the next month, next year. how technology will change, what will happen, and what would be the requirement. But there are some milestones that are there for human beings. Rather than looking at just an organization or leadership, one needs to look at values of human beings. Those have not changed over time. Trust is there, authenticity, how to lead people, those things, involvement of people, evolving ideas from people. These are things which are there, and those may not change. That's what we feel at this time. We don't know what will happen, but as human beings, we would like to associate with each other, talk to each other, and get results. It may be digitally, physically, whatever the mode of communication is, but evolving is important. I come to the last slide, which talks about looking at the future of leadership and the role. We need to look at evolving demands in the rapid changing environment and foster the collaborative environments. An effective leader will not only focus on achieving financial results, but also prioritizing the innovation and looking at well-being of the teams. That's very important. Leaders emerge to inspire. The inspiration is important. As we look at leaders, they look up to leaders. They need to inspire and give us something different. Not always innovative, but should compel us to think differently, act differently, and work more productively. And leadership in HR is not just about managing talent. It is about shaping future where innovation, inclusivity, and employee well-being is the heart of the organization. As organizations, we see that HR role has changed, leaders' role has changed, and as we evolve towards this newer generations and newer finance, the newer way of handling business, the startups, the other sunrise industries that are coming up, we need to look at human being rather than just looking at an employee. With this note, I end my keynote. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Samir. I now request Dr. Sangeeta Joshi, Principal VIT, to felicitate Mr. Samir Tamhane with a sapling. Well, inspiring leadership is indeed the need of the hour, and as the quote well said by Mahatma Gandhi, achievement is possible when emotions run ahead of reasons. So I think inspiring leadership will be able to do that. Ladies and gentlemen, we are now moving towards the first panel discussion, Shaping Future Leaders, Strategies for HR. In today's dynamic landscape, leadership transcends traditional boundaries. It's about fostering innovation, embracing change, and leading with purpose and resilience. As the architects of organizational success, HR professionals hold the responsibility of shaping leaders who can inspire teams, drive transformation, and build inclusive cultures. The discussion will explore how HR can craft future-ready strategies, leverage emerging trends, and create pathways for sustainable leadership development in a rapidly evolving world. We are privileged to have a panel of experts who are redefining the landscapes of leadership development. They will share their insights, experience, and strategies on shaping future leaders' strategies for HR. Ladies and gentlemen, it is with great pleasure that I introduce you to a true visionary leader and a compassionate humanitarian, Dr. Raghav Narsale. Dr. Raghav Narsale is a partner at PwC India and the lead for Research and Insights Hub in India. Dr. Raghav has over 27 years of professional experience in driving demand generation and building thought leadership for business teams in digital transformation, operating model transformation, and market entry strategies, amongst others. Dr. Raghav's research has been published in Tier 1 publications including Harvard Business Review, Stanford Social Innovation Review, European Business Review, and Forbes. In 2013, the Academy of Innovation and Entrepreneurship Conference at Oxford awarded a special mention for pioneering contribution to Dr. Raghav's work around inclusive business models. Dr. Raghav holds a bachelor's and master's degree in statistics and economics respectively from University of Mumbai. He has completed his European master's in law and economics from Erasmus University and executive program in business analytics from Indian Institute of Management, Kolkata. He has a PhD by practice in social entrepreneurship from École Supérieure Robert de Sorbonne, France. Since June 2021, Dr. Raghav has been operating an ambulance service in the city of Navi Mumbai from his own savings. This ambulance service, known as 100 rupees ambulance service, ferries patient at a flat rate of rupees 100 from home to hospitals and clinics and back within the jurisdiction of Navi Mumbai. Till date, the ambulance has completed more than 1600 trips and saved more than 20 lakhs of the citizens of Navi Mumbai, which they would have been compelled to spend on costly ambulance services. Dr. Raghav is very fond of gardening and plays the Indian drum tabla. I request Dr. Raghav Narsale to come on the stage, please. I would now like to introduce second panelist, Mr. Ajit Mangrulkar. Mr. Ajit Mangrulkar is the Director General of IMC Chamber of Commerce and Industry. He is a senior management professional with around 35 years of experience. Before taking on the role at IMC as Director General in March 2018, Mr. Ajit was the Australian Trade and Investment Commission, Austrade, Australian Consulate General Mumbai since 2001, wherein he had varied experience across all operational areas at Austrade. In October 2016, he moved to Austrade's FDI attraction role in the capacity as investment manager, South Asia, and specific focus on innovation and technology-driven sectors. Mr. Ajit previously held the position of Austrade's Regional Manager of Finance and Administration, South Asia. Prior to joining Austrade, Mr. Ajit held the position of Group Manager Marketing in an automotive ancillary group based in Mumbai and was engaged in the production and marketing of products for the Indian automotive OEM and aftermarket segments. Mr. Ajit has an educational background in commerce and accounts with bachelor's in commerce from Bombay University and an inter-CA qualification from the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India. Mr. Ajit has almost 30 years of commercial experience and exposure to industry, international trade, and investment promotion activities. I would now request Mr. Ajit Mangrulkar to come on stage. Our third panelist is Mr. Praveen Menon. As a head of Human Resource India, Mr. Praveen Menon is responsible for strategic initiatives pertaining to human resource at Malabar Gold. Mr. Praveen's strategic initiatives include incorporating the ever-evolving modern-day people practices into organizations' functioning. Through this, the endeavor is to cultivate an ecosystem that is empowered and meritocratic, receptive to upskilling and holistic development. Prior to Malabar, Mr. Praveen has been associated with several entities including India First, Aditya Birla, Axis Bank, AC Nielsen, IDBI Federal Life Insurance, Citibank, and HSBC. In these organizations, he has led teams in implementing suitable people practices complementing business goals. An industry thought leader, Mr. Praveen, continues to actively lend his perspective on people management and how to adapt to evolving aspirant demands at eminent forums and amidst academia across India. Mr. Praveen holds an MBA in Finance from Nursi Monji Institute of Management Studies and a PG in Human Resource from Tata Institute of Social Sciences and a Business Management Diploma from Wellington Institute of Management. I would now request Mr. Praveen to come on the stage, please. Our fourth panelist and moderator of the panel discussion, we have Captain Sameer Kanekar, who is the head HR and ER at Merck's APM terminals for India, Bangladesh and Sri Lanka. Captain Sameer is a value-driven and passionate human resource business leader with 17 years of core HRM experience out of his 22 years of management and industry experience. Captain Sameer brings his business acumen in driving business success through the human resources arm of the organization. As a practitioner of people-driven initiative, Captain Sameer has strategically led teams through large-scale projects involving various degrees of complexities and geographical diversity with an agile leadership style that focuses on organizational culture and human behavior. An important part of his experience involves leveraging people skills to steer in business excellence, implementing strategic change management processes, and effectively handle crisis management and risk mitigation. As an armed forces veteran, Captain Sameer's forte lies in stepping into a challenging situation, overcoming roadblocks, and meeting the business goals. Captain Sameer has held stellar positions in the Indian Army as well as corporates like Tata Motors, FedEx Express, with his current assignment at Merck's. Captain Sameer has a multitude of achievement to his credit. He has appointed board member of FedEx Express India. He has been chairperson of India Crisis Management Team and Customer Experience Task Force of India. He implemented processes efficiency and output maximization measures, creating positive P&L impact of $1.5 million. He has received the Global HR Award for Successful People Integration and Acquired Entities in 2013. I now request Captain Sameer Kanekar to come on the stage, please. So over to you, Mr. Sameer Kanekar. We will now start the panel discussion.
Good morning. I'm audible, everybody? Great. I think I'm really overwhelmed, and thank you, my name types, Mr. Sameer Tamane, for setting the context. And I sincerely compliment Vidyalankar Institute for providing this platform today. And it is so humbling and so energizing to see the next generation of leadership, I would say. Of course, many of you would want to come into HR, and we'll talk about that. But in the end, what matters is leadership. And we really look forward, because it's all about learning from each other and moving forward. So I'm very privileged to have Raghav, Ajit, and Praveen on the panel here. And we heard the introductions. So if I can start with you, Raghav. Yeah. So, I mean, it's such a stellar list of achievements, what we heard about you. So from an HR perspective, as a leader, what are your top three choices that one should be as a professional or as a human?
First of all, thank you very much for inviting me to be a part of this August event. Amit is a very dear friend. We go, way back to our childhood days. So generally, when he invites me to something, I just don't say no. So Amit, pleasure to be here. And of course, Vidyalankar, it's an institution of eminence. I've been here. This is my third time, I think. I was here for the valedictory function. Prior to that, I was here for some banking event, if I'm not mistaken, and now I'm here. So thank you very much, Vidyalankar, for continuing to invite me to speak at events here. What are the top three things? If you ask me, it's a lot about courage. I feel, courage is so important because if you don't have courage, you will not be taking the risk that you would require, even a small level of risk that you would be needed to be taking, to drive value, to build those relationships, etc., in your careers. The second is, along with courage, you really need to be empathetic, not sympathetic. It's empathetic. And I say this because you really need to go not only in the shoes of the other person with whom you would be working, but also where the person socks and see where it bites.
Absolutely.
So it's very, very important. So it's courage, empathy, and then the last thing is be decisive. It's very important to be very, very decisive. I've seen a lot of courageous and empathetic leaders, right, being very indecisive. They just, it's like a pendulum. They are into a constant mode of andolan, within themselves. And that really has a huge amount of implications for the people who work with you, for your own self, as Mr. Tamhani was saying. It's all, and I really love that it's so very important that leaders, generally tend to ignore themselves, are thinking about others on many occasions, and they feel that that's their role. But your health and your mental state is as important, because if you are just convalescing and you're performing just oscillating on your decisions and not really arriving at them, I don't think you will ever make a good leader, because your people will never be able to kind of work with you, because in the day and age of Gen Zs, they don't like shocks, they like predictability, right? So it's very, very important that you're predictable in the way that you're taking your decision. And when I say that, I don't mean that your decisions need to be predictable. It's your ability to take a decision has to be predictable, right? That is very important. So courage, empathy, and decisiveness are the three things, at least, which have helped me. And I see a lot of leaders in PwC, doing around. That's what I see every day. But thank you for the question.
Hey, thanks, Raghu. I just have a follow-up question to you, Raghu, okay? Because those are great insight. I think courage is something which is the common ingredient in leadership. But in today's world, as Mr. Tamani also brought out, I think we are very data-driven. We are talking about the digital world. And the generation, the Gen Z, who is our target audience as an organization, what are your few thoughts or insights that, because of your expertise, that you've been dealing with the data and the digital transformation, change management? So what are the key things aspiring leader should imbibe in their early stage of career?
I think being data-driven is very, very important. But just being data-driven is, so it's in economics, we have this very interesting thing. There is a concept of what we call the necessary and sufficient conditions. So therefore, being data-driven is a necessary condition, but not a sufficient condition. And, to really progress. What I see is that, empathy and data, or emotion and data, it's that connect, that constant connect between here and here, right? The heart to the brain and the brain to the heart is what this generation really likes. They don't want you to just think through the brain for the sole reason, which is your analytical mind, for the sole reason that life is not only about analysis every time, right? Life is a life. It consists of various emotions. It consists of various decisions, various circumstances. And not every circumstance demands that you think this way. You have to even be thinking from the heart. And I think that is very, very important. I would say that as budding leaders, how do you manage to have the optimal balance? I wouldn't ever use the word correct, but the optimal balance of using your brain and heart synchronously matters a lot. And every decision has a new balance. So you have to be very flexible. It's not like that the balance that helped you arrive at one decision is going to help you the next time. So be flexible, be moldable, learn. And for the leaders like me, what I do every day, I get reverse mentored. And that is very, very important because I begin every call with my team to say, thank you very much. I hope you're healthy. I hope you're doing the right things in life to just, kind of engaging your family well. I don't talk about the work at all. The first 5 minutes of my call is all about understanding whether my team is doing well or not, emotionally, physically. Is there anything for them to share, like their kid's birthday or something of that sort? Because everyone in the team is a human first.
Absolutely.
And then an employee next. And I think that makes a huge difference. You set in motion a conversation that is so charged, and then the person feels, ये तो मेरे घर का है, तो मैं इसके लिए क्यों नहीं काम कर सकता?
Absolutely.
या मैं इसके साथ क्यों नहीं काम कर सकता? And that's the way you build those bonds. And data is always there. Data तो रहेगा ही ना. इतना सारा सब कुछ हो रहा है तो डेटा तो रहेगा ही. आपको क्या चुनना है और उसमें से आपको क्या बांधना है, चुनना और बांधना आपके ऊपर है. तो वो समझ लीजिए, understand that, and I think you become a good leader.
Great. Thanks, Raghu. I think what it is bringing out is having authenticity, in terms of leadership. Are you transparent? Are you open with your team? Are you trusting them? And at times, you will be in tunnels wherein you need to hold each other to ensure that we pass through and see the light at the end of it. So thanks for those insights. Ajit, if I can move to you, and I think what a stellar career graph that what you have had, and you contributed so much for the Australia-India trade thing. Post-COVID, the world has shrunk, right? And like if I were to go to the analogy of that generations, what we are talking of, when most of us were growing, we were talking about globalization. Then happened globalization and everything. And post-COVID now, we see that work from anywhere concept has come in. But from as we talk about shaping our future leaders, I think it becomes very imperative that the points what have come out so far from the esteemed keynote speaker or Raghu highlighted. I think tenacity is something which an individual needs in today's global perspective. So what are your thoughts about how do they deal this VUCA world what we live in, which is very volatile, uncertain, complex and ambiguous, and how should they tread their path through this?
Thank you, and a very good morning to everyone. And Vidyalankar, it's a pleasure to be associated with you. Dr. Amit Ok has been with us, and also ma'am. We've been associated, the chamber has been associated with Vidyalankar on and off, and really thank you so much for having me here. Yes, today's world is, I think the leader has to think on his or her feet. Every day things are changing. What was yesterday has changed today, and you are planning for tomorrow. So in terms of, you have to be quick on thinking, but that does not mean that the basics you leave behind. Because one of the things that I feel that irrespective of what kind of an environment you're in, a leader has to be hands-on. It's very easy for me as a leader to give motherhood statements to my team and say, you must do this, or I expect X, Y, Z from you. But irrespective of what the situation, I should be able to do that. And I do emphasize that if I tell my team that this is what you're going to do, is because I am prepared to do that also. So there's no point, I'm in a position where I could probably give statements and, people will probably listen to me, but can I do it myself?
Absolutely.
If I can't do it myself, I really don't feel I should be saying anything to my team. So that's the first thing. So, and today's and post-COVID, I mean, we have experienced it. We've gone to a situation where the revenues have dried up. We've got a team that's in front of us. So our entire activities have gone for a toss. Suddenly we have gone from, physical to a complete virtual world. How quickly can we adapt to it? And we've actually learned something from it. And that's where, leadership has to say, okay, let's think and let's put things to practice. And most important is back your team. I mean, today, I'm also not clear whether what decision I'm taking as a leader is it, going to really be the right decision. But for my team over there, I always tell them that you feel that this is what is right. I'm there to back you. If we succeed together. If we fail, it's my failure. So they are completely at ease that there is no pressure on us. And just as Dr. Raghav said, that courage, and you need that courage to be able to back your team. So I think thinking on your feet, hands-on, and trying to sort of be the support for the team, and letting, in today's day and age, there's so many, I mean, we've got a situation where in our organization, we've got a mix of the Gen Zs, we've got the millennials, and not as a leader, but between senior, in fact, Samirji, I'm going to come to you for more advice, but I have got senior, team leaders who are probably even at the baby boomer stages. And I've got Gen Zs and they said, nahi, ye aisa hi hona hai. And I'm, caught in the middle because I'm the boss or the leader. And how do I manage this? So that's an interesting challenge. Probably many organizations are facing this. So I've got to balance the whole thing and then finally say, no, I think let's work at what we are looking at. And many a times I see a lot of disappointment in, the millennials and the Gen Zs that look, we're putting up things and we've got, people up the ladder who are at different stages and not really able to comprehend. And then as a leader or as the CEO, you say, yes, I understand, but how do I sort of take the decision? Do I offend my seniors or do I, go through that? But that's a transition which I think everyone has to make.
Absolutely.
And, post-COVID, things have changed. I really don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. I mean, it's not something you can plan. I've got a 5-year plan or a 3-year plan. As a chamber, I have to keep, changing. We had a set thing, we'll do an event in this direction or we'll do an event in that direction. No, things have changed completely. Governments are changing. I mean, the requirements of governments are changing. So I think just being a hands-on is where I would sort of lay emphasis on and back your team.
Great. I really loved that analogy, and that between those conflicts in terms of the positioning between the generations, and to give an army analogy, you are either on the line of control or you are in no man's land as a leader many a times. So I think that is something which one needs to be equipped to embrace, so that as you are traveling that path, and that is where I think the authenticity, as I mentioned earlier, and I think your perspective as a leader has to be to try and listen to your teams also. I think listening is some skill which as a leader one needs to inculcate, as rightly brought out by Ajit, that at leadership it could be one-way traffic, right? But in coming times as leader, you need to be more inclusive, is how I look at it. Thanks for those insights, Ajit.
Thank you.
Praveen, if I can move on to you, and the question I have for you is, how is technology impacting the leadership and especially the HR leadership space, and what are your thoughts as the new leadership aspires to grow up the ladder? What are the key things that you would want them to pack with them as they submit?
Okay, firstly, good morning to all. Pleasure to be here. First time ever. Excited to be a part of this August panel. Looking forward to this intriguing discussion. I would like to give you a few anecdotal statements before I actually answer your question. If I were to tell you that I love you is a myth, okay, in the corporate, we are all talking about corporate scenario. So you will ask me that what is the reality? If I love you is a myth, so what is the reality? Now, if I were to say that the reality is that I love myself when I am with you. Now, this would be a statement from the employee that when employee is working with you, you as an organization or you as a leader, the employee should be loving themselves, right? So it is the responsibility of the organization or the leader to make you love yourself, right? And that's the reality, okay? The second thing I would also want to say is that what is the difference between a good leadership and a great leadership? Let's assume that the employee walks into a cabin, speaks to a leader, comes out and says that, wow, what a leader is. So we will categorize that leader as a good leader. Now you will ask me then, what is a great leadership? So the employee walks into the cabin of that individual, comes out of the cabin and feels saying, oh, I can do so much more. So the ability of a leader to kind of get the best out of from an individual would categorize the leader as a great leader. I also often say that there is a huge difference between happiness and success. Success is extrinsic, happiness is intrinsic. A leader's responsibility is to not really get to the success. A leader's responsibility is to make sure that he or she is able to make people happy. Happiness eventually will lead to success. One more other aspect is that gone are those days of, I mean, it's pretty some time back it is gone, that one size fits all. Leadership as a concept itself is agile. Now, if leadership as a concept, if that is agile, the consumer of leadership also needs something called democratization of leadership, isn't it? Now, we can call it as learning and training programs. We can call it as how a leader responds to the team, responds to the situation. The fellow panelists talked about agility, resilience, etc. Those are all an important aspect because the world is changing. Now the world is changing at a faster pace. Now if you see that change that world is having or the business is having, it is on the technological space itself. Pre-COVID, if you were to tell that people could operate from a Zoom or an MS Teams regularly, periodically, it was something which was unheard of. Today that's very natural because as everybody said that there is a generation Z, maybe millennial, maybe alpha. They require people to operate, from maybe different parts of the country. Now, if something needs to really get cascaded down and to reach that last mile, you don't have a choice but to kind of do it through a technology-driven platform. It may not be possible for a leader to be physically present, and then communicate, right? So consumerism or consumers of leadership also needs technological platform. And to a larger extent, one of the aspects that I have seen is the fact that how do you create leaders? Leaders are not just created at the top, even at the entry level, be it junior management, be it middle management, be it senior management, leadership tenets needs to happen, right? A junior management guy has to look at how he would perform at a middle management cadre. A middle management cadre person should be able to see that how am I going to perform at a senior management cadre? Should I get that opportunity? And of course, it is the leadership and the ecosystem which has to create the so-called the ecosystem itself for everybody to kind of keep getting enhanced to the next level. Various technological driven platforms are there, whether it is e-learning platform that we talk about, whether it is instant feedback mechanism in performance management system, because gone are those days of you are going to give a feedback at the end of the year. If something is not right, do a course correction today itself is what is requested by Gen Z and even millennial population. So do you have a mechanism of telling them in a way that this is the way you need to course correct? There could be rewards and recognition, because we were just talking over the coffee and tea today that boredom sets in fast, and one of the ways to make sure that boredom is extended to a certain time would be a recognition framework. So do you have an instant recognition framework in the system? The last but not the least is the fact that do you have an ecosystem where fear of failure is actually taken off? Because the moment you think that what will happen to me if I fail, then the ability to take a risk by the leadership and the people around doesn't really help the cause, doesn't really enhance the potential of an individual. So these days you would see that the organizations actually celebrating possibly all the goof ups. You know, they are actually recognizing teams and individuals who would have done certain goof ups, and it is okay to call it out. You need not worry about it, saying that you have done something, because the fear of failure is actually gone out of the window. So this entire ecosystem of creating a culture tenet plus rolling it out through technology driven platform, because one of the questions that often is asked is that will AI replace human beings? The answer to that is that AI may not really replace human beings, but the professionals who use AI much better than the professionals who don't use AI will be far successful. So it is but natural that people possibly would need to understand the organization needs to provide that ecosystem, maybe provide training on the future technologies that would be coming in, because otherwise the organization will lag behind, leadership will lag behind, it will cascade it down to the last mile. That would be my answer actually.
Fantastic. I think you touched upon varied points, and the biggest takeaway what I see is that one has to be flexible, adaptable, agile, nimble as you traverse the journey of leadership and as you grow. And one more, actually you provoked one more thought in me, and I'm sure that it will resonate with all of us. During our careers, and if I give my analogy, so when I did my short service commission, came out, did my course from IIM Lucknow, and here I was in Tata Motors in HR. So great organization. I owe a lot to them for ensuring that I could transition successfully. From Tata Motors, I come to FedEx, and I'm leading the HR team in India. And after 8 years, I was at a crossroad. What next in career? So either the opportunity was to go and join head HR or CHRO in any other company, but this is what great organizations do. And the kind of opportunity I got to do business partnering, I was asked, would you be interested in operations? Now that was something very different. So, but then I thought as HR, I was always preaching that you must diversify, you must multi-skill, you must learn new things to remain viable and sustain in the current ecosystem. So I took that plunge, and I was managing director India operations for FedEx for 5 years. And believe you me, the first 1 year, I worked manifold, because that was that FOMO thing, that concept which was said, that I was thinking that how can I make myself compatible and how can I learn operations, But the biggest skin in the game was, it was all about your leadership, whether you are authentic, whether you understand the team. And yes, you need to know the operation, but they were the best in operations. So you need to channelize them. So at times, leadership is all about stepping back also and letting people rise and deliver the things. Okay, so it's all about inclusiveness is how I look at it, Maybe in the interest of time, what I would request the panel members is for this question, each one of you can share your thoughts and we take the turns, and then if we can open the audience to ask any questions to us. So to build a good culture in an organization, what are the key ingredients which will help drive the leadership? You can start.
So I think to build a great culture in an organization, what are the greatest ingredients? It's a very classic question. According to me, the biggest ingredient, in terms of building a great culture is de-jargonization. I tend to see and I tend to hear so many jargons. I come from a field of economics, so it's full of jargons. Statistics, even more jargons. And then management theory, even more jargons. All right, so you can see it's a complicated issue for me. And therefore, if you notice when I spoke, I just spoke about words that you understand. Empathy, things like which are in your regular language. Because I think that is very, very important. Because the first thing that really is valued by people is that they should not be doing that meme, आप कहना क्या चाहते हो? You know, that's that famous meme, right? That goes on.
idiots.
Yeah. आप कहना क्या चाहते हो? So that is one of the biggest challenges. If you want to create a culture, पहले समझो और इस तरीके से कहो कि लोगों को समझे. You know, because we tend to use a lot of words which we even don't understand ourselves. So I don't do that. You know, in my case, so I speak very simply. The second thing is listening, which was very important, as you rightly said. Okay, that's why I said, सोचो, समझो और फिर करो. You know, I think पहले लोगों को समझो भी यार. मतलब that is very important. कि क्या, where are they coming from? What is their aspiration in life? Where do they want to go? That is very, very critical. It's not about where you want them to be going. It's about where they want to go, where they are seeking happiness, right? Where are they seeing, you know, value from the organization? If you understand that, then it's a very easy conversation and easy to build that kind of a culture. Because once you do dejargonization and once you start understanding people, essentially the culture is not then something that is built by you. It is built collectively. Right? And once you start collectively building that culture, you as a leader start growing. You'll realize that. Because there are so many aspects of culture around that you may not have even touched. You may not have even felt. You might have seen them, but now you see them manifesting through actions of others. And then you say, aha, this is my growth as a leader.
Absolutely.
यार ये मैंने सोचा ही नहीं था कि ऐसे हो सकता है, इसका सोल्यूशन ऐसे निकल सकता है. मैंने सोचा ही नहीं था कि ये बंदा इस बंदे से बात करके ये सोल्यूशन लेके आएगा, right? But it's possible now because you've created that culture of collaboration, of, you know, belief, of trust. By what? Simple things. No jargons, listening, allowing people to, you know, manifest, take, you know, kind of things that they want. See, because one of the biggest challenges, you know, and this is something which I used to see in my very earlier bosses, right? I think this was like the very early generations, sir, which you spoke about. It was more about तुमको कुछ पता नहीं और मुझको सब कुछ पता है, you know. And it's difficult because, you know, our generation of leaders has been brought up by those leaders.
Absolutely.
And then we have to deal with Gen Zs and the, you know, the other alphas and, you know, whatever you want to call them, which basically says that मुझको सब कुछ पता है, तुझको सब कुछ पता नहीं है, right? तू मेरे को टाइम पे आने के लिए कहता है, जा विरार से लटक के आ. No, I'm giving you a practical example, right? So that is the whole point. So as leaders, we get caught into this kind of a situation. And I think that's where, you know, just don't jargonize, be very simple in your language, understand what they want, create a culture of trust, it automatically creates. And I'll just leave you with a quote. No strategy will ever work if there's no culture. There was a very famous management theorist who once said, culture eats strategy for breakfast. Right? And till the time you are able to build that culture, no goddamn strategy will ever work. So understand this, that if your people are never with you, even in the era of machines, no machine will work with you. The people, because there is a human behind the machine. So if the machine has to respond to you even in the era of machines, you have to have the humans with you. And that is only going to be happening if there's a culture of trust, belief, empathy, a lot of those very simple words that we all believe in and practice in our family every day. So that's what I would leave you.
Great. Ajit, I'm tempted to add one more thing because of the wealth of knowledge what you bring to the table. As a leader, how can they develop a global perspective, or what should they be doing to see as to what's happening around and how they can have some few takeaways in it? If you can just add that as well.
I think nothing beats practical exposure. Today, with technology, you don't really have to physically go or travel. Right. I mean, everything's available on the virtual platform. And the encouragement or what we like to tell our team is that benchmark yourself, of course, what is happening in and around our zone or our physical space, but what really is happening in the world. I mean, today, what is US saying? What is the EU saying? I mean, are we, imbibing all of that, and are we aware? Awareness. I mean, let's put it that way. And awareness does not mean reading the newspapers. You're not going to get that. But are you aware? And I think today, all of us, I think this is probably the post-COVID, we are so much on the electronic media, that there's the social media which is, has broken barriers. I mean, the social media is not restricted to India, what's happening, elsewhere. And I think a lot of, everyone has taken to Twitter, everyone is, on social media. So that's just broken barriers completely. So everyone, at least, and I am very proud to say that from our country or as Indians, I think we are far more aware of what's happening in the world. I mean, even if you travel overseas, you realize that you know much more than about their country than, they know about you. And I say, I mean, I'm extremely proud of that. And I give you a very, an example. I was in Tasmania in Australia, which is, they don't think they're part of Australia. They think that, they call themselves that, that's mainland and we are here. So when I was checking out, the lady at the reception said that, sir, where are you going to? I said, I'm going to Mumbai. 2 minutes, she's looking at me as if she's heard some foreign land. And she says, Mumbai? I said, yes, I'm going to Mumbai. Is that in Africa? I said, yes, for you probably it's in Africa, but if you do not know where Mumbai is, I mean, today if I ask even our, the roadside grocery or the panwala, he is today, on the UPI culture that we have, he knows what's happening, he's saying, Donald Trump has got elected. I mean, he knows that. And this lady sitting in a hotel reception in Mumbai is in Africa. I said, yes, that's where India is going to take, the whole world apart. So, I mean, we need to be aware, definitely. And I think all of us today, and as Indians, we are far more aware anyways. So internationally what's happening, because it makes a big difference. I mean, today Gen I is the buzzword. Everyone, you do not have to be in an IT to know about it. Everyone is using a chat GPT. Everyone is, looking at, I know many a times when we ask for certain reports, I know from where they're coming from, it's too clinical, and, this is not there. So I'm happy that, we are exposed, we are using it. And in fact, when we go to international forums, especially, the UPI, what India has done post-COVID is something phenomenal. In UK, you can't do it. You can't do it in most of the European countries. And we actually give presentations to them as to what we did in this era. So I think primarily all of us here are aware of the international scenario, the global perspective, and I think it's must, and that's where it'll take India. And I think it's just coming naturally to us. Coming back to the culture bit, I think, is the organization or is the leadership communicating?
Right.
And it has to be two ways, because, if it is just a one-way communication and we're not getting communication coming back, how are we going to move forward? We can give a whole lot of statements like, we need integrity and all that. That's a given. I mean, you don't even have to, say those things. But are we communicating? And communicating to the lowest common denominator. It's not just to the second line or third line. Is your union or admin staff able to communicate upwards? If you can do that, then your organization can go miles, because together, probably as an organization, you will achieve what you want, because leadership saying, these are my goals, this is my focus, but if I'm not hearing what my third rung is telling me about it, see, I don't think it's making sense what you're talking about. See what's happening on the ground. Because, and that's the issue that we also have, that, we have a lot of great policies, But when it comes to implementing on the ground level, it's a different ball game. Can you sort of have that in sync with what you're doing? And I think that is communication. It's two ways, and it has to be something which crosses all hierarchies. Not necessarily that I'm a manager, so I can only talk to my senior manager. No, I can talk to the board member if I want to. And of course, we have to be capable of listening. It's just not listening, but also delivering. There's so many things we learn. I mean, from ground up that, these things we could have done would given a better result. There's a lot of learning. So if we are able to communicate in both ways, without fear or favor, I mean, that is the buzzword. We are still in a situation where we've got a whole lot of senior players who work in a different way. If I say this, I hope I'm not going to be sort of, picked up or said anything. If they have that confidence in the leadership, I think the organization can go whichever way it wants, and the communication is the key. And you can communicate in any language. You don't have to be speaking English. You can communicate in the local language. Key is communication, is where I feel is as far as the most important sort of mantra for an organization and for a culture, that yes, we can communicate in this organization.
Great.
Thank
Great
you.
insight, Sachin. Thank you.
Okay, again, I'm sure that I'll not bore you, but again, starting with one line statement that don't be personal at office and professional at home. First tenet of creating a culture. Imagine a situation where you become too personal at office and you go home and suddenly you tell your spouses or anybody there, ek chai leke aao. Abhi, 10 baje. It doesn't work, okay? So as a human, I think you need to have this leadership trait, which eventually will flow from the top, which get cascaded down below. The second one would be, when you take a decision, lead from the front. And when you empower people, lead from behind. Because of the fact that if you lead from the front when you give empowerment, then it is realistically not an empowerment at all. Because the decision making lies with you. You will be involved in micromanagement, and it causes restrictions in the system for people to perform to the best of their potential. And when it comes to decision making, if you leave it to your team or people around, then in a way you are not owning up the entire process, right? The third would be, I talked about it, that create an ecosystem which has fear of which doesn't have fear of failure. The moment there is a fear of failure, you will see restrictions, you will see finger pointing across. People will not be able to do something which is more than usual, because if an organization need to have stretched targets, stretched goals, you will need to have many members in the ecosystem who will be able to do that without the fear of reprimand. So that would be the third. The fourth would be the fact that you have to be civil end of the day. He touched base on that. Of course, the language can be simple without any jargons. End of the day, you are dealing with people, not a robot there. Organization, what is organization? Organization consists of a set of people who are going to deliver, right? And when you have that mindset of being civil, by default, you also will become inclusive and diverse. Because today, not just about the generation, especially after the abolishment of 377, you have seen people coming into the system with a lot of different sexual preferences. That's, a kind of a diverse population. If you don't have that ecosystem to even include them, how would they come and perform? So the ecosystem should only have one mantra, that if you have the talent, please come and perform, and the ecosystem will take care of the rest. You do your best, we will take care of the rest, kind of, right? So some of these things, of course, it has to flow from top. It is a motherhood statement. If in a large organization today, if I were to look at my organization, we are dealing with 19,000 odd people. Now we do have a chairman and MD at the top. We do have goldsmiths, who are at the start of the ladder. And some point in time, I heard that the organization wanted to give them ergonomic chairs, right? And they said that, no, we don't want the chairs. We would sit down, because the finesse that comes out of a gold carving happens when you sit actually on the floor. So the organization wanted to do, but they said that, no, just give us a mat, we'll sit down. So they are also leaders in their own rights. And, so if you were to create that culture that everybody is wanting in the system, you need to have these broad tenets. Then further from there, you can break it up into technological driven democratization of training programs, leadership development programs, etc. But that culture, as you said, that definitely, culture eats strategy for breakfast, that's there. And most of the organization is aware of it. Many organization is trying to practice it. Many few is able to get it right.
Right.
Now the question is that, how long will you not be able to get it right? The sooner the better, because the world is changing at a faster pace. If you don't get it right, you will see that you are, as an organization, you lag behind the world, which is running at a 100-meter sprint, right? And that would be, my experience, which I said that I'll bring it on to the table.
Great. Thank you so much, Praveen. Can we open up the floor for a couple of questions? In the interest of time, I think we can adjust those. Anybody? Any questions?
Hello. My question is to Mr. Ajit. We have enough spoken and discussed about the strategic key challenges that HR is facing today related to the Gen Z and millennial generation, as well as the technology, rapid changes in the technology. May I know, do we find any other key strategic challenges that HR is facing today?
I think one of the biggest challenges is understanding emotions. I mean, today, many a times, understanding emotions, I'm still learning, because everyone knows that, at the end of the day, a company is human beings, and human beings, we are all full of emotions. And many a times leadership sort of takes a pretty, narrow view, and I have failed miserably at, taking a narrow view and then realizing no. And in fact, I've actually said that I need to understand first the emotional aspect of, irrespective whether you're a Gen Z or you're a millennial or you come from the baby boomer, I need to first understand that if I'm going to get anything across. Plus, and it's a two-way traffic, so I'm finding that to be the biggest challenge, and probably that is happening in all organizations, because at the end of the day, we are not machines, we are human beings. So I think that emotional, and many a times, a lot of decisions are taken. You feel as a leader, I think it's the right decision I've taken, and then you realize, my God, it's, been taken in a different way, and the result has been something else, and you're still trying to scratch it, and then you say, I did not manage the emotional expectation of what. So if I had to sort of keep that in mind, that look, this person comes with this kind of a thought process. If I have got to achieve this, I need to put it in a different way. And it takes a lot of hard work, but I have learned it the hard way. And I'm actually now, when I'm talking, whether it be my unionized team or even senior management, I'm actually first saying, okay, what is the emotional framework this person is coming from? And then put it across, because things have gone for a toss. So I would see that, that would be a challenge. I faced it. So, and probably since the common denominators, we are all human beings, every organization would be facing it in a different way, some way or the other. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Hi. So I work with a company which has got a culture of remote work lifetime for India. I have a question with all due respect. We talked about the culture, we talked about the communication, and we also talked about you do the best and we take care of the rest. In Corona days, people managed to work hard, maybe more than the prescribed hours. They did well with all the communication technology and everything. And with a culture, whatever, we forced to use it. But people managed well. The companies which has got a privilege to work remotely, they really managed well. even in Corona days. Suddenly after the Corona, all the Indian companies discontinued that particular fashion. People are traveling, spending 2+ hours one way. What really we are achieving out of it? Is it a failure of the employees who took the disadvantage of that remote work, or the managers who got tired of the remote calls? Can we talk about the culture aspect of it and the communication and the delivery in this particular thing? Because I have seen that change and we need to fix it to stop the traffic on the roads, and still people can deliver the best, I believe.
I think if you look at it from a cultural dimension, there are many organizations that have given the hybrid option. It's not necessarily that organizations are just coming back 360 degrees or 180 or just going 180 degrees opposite, right? To say you all work from home now, work into the office and just come there and do it. There's a lot of flexibility that is being given to an employee to choose the days, etc., along with the teams, and then of course come in. From a cultural standpoint, it's a great question that what happened to this from a cultural standpoint. I think from a cultural standpoint, what was being seen and what was being missed was collaboration to a level that is required between now the humans and the machines. So we have to understand that the machine facilitated a level of collaboration during the COVID pandemic between humans. But given the fact that in a manufacturing setup or even in many services setups now, there is going to be a deeper collaboration between the humans and the machines. Just to give you an example, right? So say for example, if I was just going to use a Zoom call, so Zoom call facilitated my interaction with the other employee, and that was my human machine interaction. But with generative AI and with AI coming up in a very big way, right? The machine is going to think. Now the point is, will that machine be installed at my home? Right now the cost doesn't allow that to happen, right? In many cases, your laptops won't be able to do that. There are issues related to, and very genuine issues coming up, which is people putting, and this happened in a very, very reputed company. I don't want to name it, but it's a South Korean conglomerate which, kind of literally an employee put something and the company was about to lose its IP. And that was about $1 billion plus in IP because they put it on Gen AI. Now, some of these kind of things happening, people, companies want therefore people to at least come, better integrate themselves from a machine human standpoint as the moves ahead, as the company moves ahead, and then take it maybe to the next level. If you ask me, the future is hybrid. There is nothing going to be ever that you will have to come into a setup like 6 days a week or 5 days a week, except where there is manufacturing, where the person is really required to be with the machine and operate and that. But even in what we call as lighthouse projects or dark house factories, I'm seeing even that going away in countries like China or in Europe. But I'm seeing a lot of hybrid happening, and the reason why I see that happening is with technology really becoming an important component, you can't be trained and sometimes you can't really go ahead with the technology without actually being with the people and making the most of it, right? The facilitation part of the technology is a very different part of technology from a cultural standpoint to imbibe as compared to facilitating the technology. You get my point? The technology was facilitating me earlier. But now if I have to facilitate the technology, which is AI or which is so many other technologies, I need to work with other people to understand what's the best way to facilitate it. And so therefore from a cultural standpoint, people want people to interact once again, come. But it's not a compulsion that you do it like 5 days a week unless there is a requirement as such. So I think hybrid is the future, is where I'm going from a cultural standpoint.
To further add, see, one of the reasons why a work from home kind of setup in a COVID era was successful is because of the fact that the entire ecosystem was work from home. Now, because be it your stakeholders, be it your bosses, be it your peers, be it your subordinates, everybody was working from home. That ecosystem allowed, or rather you didn't have a choice but to work from home. Now that one part is gone because now there are no more health concerns of traveling. So you will see people coming to office. So then it becomes a work from home vis-a-vis somebody is coming to office. So that's one issue that today organizations have to tackle with. The second is, in a large organizations, there would be a retail, there would be a manufacturing, there would be many other functions which today, for example, I'm with Malabar and we have about 230 showrooms. So would you as a customer walk into a showroom and I will just give you an iPad, will you be able to look at design and then buy a jewelry? You wouldn't. You would want somebody on the shop floor to sell you a jewelry, explain to you saying that, okay, what goes well, what doesn't. So in an organization, and there's a manufacturing setup because they have to continuously produce. So in a manufacturing setup and a retail setup, if majority of the employees are working in, let's assume, in a in-person culture, then a certain small section of people who possibly still can work in a hybrid environment or work from home really doesn't talk about an so-called diverse or inclusive culture, right? So that's the second part. The third part is the fact that how much ever you say, how much ever objective you bring in performance management, there is an object or an element of subjectivity there. So the question would be saying that, okay, do you have the systems to capture the element of subjectivity in a manner that it represents what you have performed? And the answer is very clearly no. Many organizations would say yes, but by and large, okay, organization is okay in having those 20%, 25% subjectivity. Now again the question comes in, if that 25% subjectivity, would you operate from home or would you operate from office? And the answer is very clearly the subjectivity would go up slightly more if you operate from home, and that's where, as he said, hybrid is something that possibly would remain, where you have a flexibility possibly in a week, possibly in a month to work from wherever you want. But for some of the other days, maybe as a part of the holistic ecosystem, you need to be a part of that ecosystem for you to do well. So that would be my...
Can I just take one more point? Just one more point. I mean, and that is important because I've seen this, I've heard this from my own colleagues. And this is about women colleagues. They want to come to office. They don't want to do an 18-hour workday where they're cooking, feeding their husband, feeding their child, doing a call, and then working on top of that.
There are a lot of smiles in the audience.
I'm not joking. It's true. It's true. I mean, to be very honest, and during COVID times, I'm sure in Malabar or any organization, you would have seen, and there are studies to show that abuse at home was rampant during COVID times. Women have more complaints of abuse during that time because the point is that in the day and age of today, a husband and wife, if I were to say categorically, are actually together only 8 hours a day. You put them into a box for 24 hours now. And for 2 years. I mean, look at it from that perspective too. So you have to understand that there is a huge cultural, kind of that there, in so many organizations of my friends, etc., people have said that women colleagues have come and said, Sir, karo na shuru, hybrid to karo. Hybrid to karo. Hum aayenge, pakka aayenge. But that will, because a woman enjoys her identity at the office. She has friends at office. She has colleagues at office, right? She can share so many things at office which possibly she doesn't have any place to share at home. Now, do we deny her that right is the issue. So a lot of these kind of, as I said, and that's why I said from a cultural dimension, you really need to see that. Because sometimes the masculinity enters the debate so much that we forget that there is a femininity towards the dimension. And how many of you know, it's an interesting statistic because I'm a statistician, but how many of you know that 54% of the agricultural labor in this country are women? Women are growing your grain, not the man. So what you eat today, thank women. So and that's the reason why I say this, because I think there's a huge cultural dimension which we forget.
Thank you so much. And in case if there are any follow-up questions, I think we are around in the interest of the time. We have a hard stop now. But I think what a scintillating discussion it has been. So much of diverse thoughts, great questions coming from the audience. And to sum this up, I think from a leadership perspective, for all the budding leaders who are there in the audience, it is a marathon, it is not a sprint, okay? So please equip yourself with right skill set, right mindset, your right attitude, because your attitude will decide your altitude in the long term. Have a strong value system, and if I have to give you one analogy, in today's cricket parlance, the series is ongoing in Australia. I think you need to be Rishabh Pant today, okay? Why I say so is because in today's VUCA world, you need to know how to bat, or MS Dhoni if you want to take it. You need to know how to field. You need to know how to scale up. When you need to up your game, nobody needs to come and tell you, hey, please up your game so that you're going to contribute, So it has to be an inner calling, and that comes with excellence. So your pursuit towards excellence, I think, would be the highway to the leadership. And on behalf of the esteemed panel, thank you so much for sharing your thoughts. We thank Vidyalankar for providing us this opportunity. It's been a great learning. And I think the video what I saw about Dr. C.S. Deshpande, I think you have an inspiration in him as to how he has shaped his life, what was the intent, what was the cause he believed in, and what is the outcome is that we are sitting in this sprawling campus today, So you need to have a vision for yourself, and you need to have a belief in yourself. So I just urge very sincerely that please don't have any low self-esteem, or don't be ever low on confidence. Okay? Dar ke aage? All the best.
I thank all our esteemed guest speakers. I now call upon Dr. Amit Oak to present the token of appreciation to all the panel speakers. A big round of applause for Dr. Raghav Narsale. Mr. Ajit Mangrulkar. Mr. Praveen Menon. Captain Sameer Kanekar. Thank you so much. Yes, yes.
I'm just barging in. Two things I just wanted to say, because it's a HR summit and it's a human relations. It was so nice having all these people on the panel today. And when Raghav said that's a childhood friend, sorry Raghav, without your permission, but when Raghav walked here, I just remembered Kaka. And in his house, you don't imagine, that time I think so we had around 5,000, 10,000 books. And I used to wonder, in 1980s, 5,000 books. And why I remembered, because there was a stage in his living room. There was a small stage, and on that stage there were all showcases where the books were there. And when Raghav walked, it was really like his brother, his father. And immediately when Ajit started speaking, I remembered Amar. Because his brother is my batchmate. So I was wondering for 2 minutes, like, who is he? Fine. Thank you once again. And all the Tulsi saplings are different. Because Raghav remind.
So we both follow Pura Deshpande very well. So in one of his particular, kind of episodes, he always shows those heart and a
So we showed all different saplings this time. So all four are different. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
I now request Dr. Mickey Barua to take over the event hosting from here onwards.
A very good afternoon to all. Not everything that can be counted counts, and not everything that counts can be counted. With this profound thought by Albert Einstein, I, Dr. Mickey Barua, once again welcome the esteemed gathering to the first edition of the HR Summit 2024, hosted by Vidyalankar Group. It is our honor to have such a distinguished gathering of industry leaders, HR professionals, experts, academicians, senior management team of Vidyalankar, all coming together at Vidyalankar to shape the future of leadership. The annual HR Summit 2024 aims to inspire, educate, and connect people while focusing on building strong partnerships between industry and academia to create future-ready leaders. We are now moving to our second panel discussion of the day, Role of Technology and HR Analytics for Data-Driven Decision-Making in BFSI. Well, that is a very interesting topic. In today's dynamic financial landscape, the effective use of technology and HR analytics can be a game changer. It definitely empowers organizations to derive actionable insights, optimize talent management, and drive impactful decisions. As the BFSI sector continues to evolve with technological innovations, HR professionals are stepping up to redefine strategies that directly impact business outcomes. Today, we have an extraordinary panel of experts who bring a wealth of experience and unique perspectives to this topic. Ladies and gentlemen, it is with great pleasure that I introduce our panelist. Our first panelist is Mr. Bardhan Sharma, Head of Talent Management, HR Tech, and Head Human Resource Business Partner for Wholesale, Commercial, and Rural Banking at HDFC Bank. Mr. Bardhan has an extensive experience in the domain of human resources. Predominant part of his human resources career has been in the area of employee reward. He had also done extensive stints in the domain of organization development, performance management, and HR business partnering. He is managing an end-to-end reorganization. It has also been an expertise that he has developed over the last couple of years. He has an exposure in consulting as well as industry both. During his consulting years, he did assignments pertaining to organization structuring, competency mapping, and reward management. He also had the opportunity to lead the SAP HR implementation for HDFC Bank that gave him tremendous exposure to the technology aspect of HR. His goal is to head the human resource function of an organization. Please join me in welcoming Mr. Bardhan Sharma. I request sir to come to the dais. Our next distinguished panelist is Mr. Parag Hindalekar, Senior Group Vice President at Motilal Oswal Financial Services, one of India's leading financial services firms. Parag Hindalekar is Senior Group Vice President at Motilal Oswal, a well-known financial services company in India. He is passionate about leveraging financial acumen to create value for clients and stakeholders with over 33 years of experience driving strategic initiatives across compliance, risk management, and trading. Expertise in managing volatile market conditions while maintaining profitability and client satisfaction. Managing large-scale projects and delivering sustainable results. Strong leadership and communication skills with track record of building high-performance team with integrity and professionalism in a competitive market condition. Sir graduated as an MBA in Finance from Somaiya College. Please join me in welcoming Mr. Parag Hindalekar. Next up, we have Mr. Senthil Kumar, Associate Vice President of Human Resources at HDFC Life. At HDFC Life, the talent acquisition strategies are reshaping the HR landscape through innovative campus and digital hiring processes. Senthil's leadership in this space has been pivotal in achieving organizational objectives, including meeting ambitious and strategic leadership talent mapping and recruitment, campus hiring goals, and enhancing recruitment efficiency without incurring additional cost or fees for the organization. The expertise he has honed in project management and business HR partnership has been instrumental in steering governance mechanisms that drive the agenda forward. These competencies, coupled with a strategic approach to HR business partnering, have led to sustained success, minimal escalations, and a profound impact on our organization's performance and growth. Well, that is truly inspirational. Please join me in welcoming Mr. Senthil Kumar, and I request Sir to come to the dais. Our next distinguished panelist is Mr. Anil Ghilani, Chartered Financial Analyst, who holds the position of Head of Passive Investments and Products at DSP Mutual Fund. Mr. Anil has been working with DSP Group since 2003. Please welcome. The DSP Group has a legacy of more than 150 years, making it one of the oldest and most respected financial services firm in India. He is currently head of passive investments and products. Previously, Sir had served as the CEO and Chief Investment Officer at DSP BlackRock Pension Fund Managers. Earlier in his career at DSP, he led the risk and quantitative analysis team, providing quantitative research inputs and buy-side credit research on companies across various sectors. Prior to joining DSP, Mr. Anil worked at IL&FS Management Company and at SR Bartley Boy as a member firm of Ernst & Young. Sir has been a volunteer with the CFA Society India for more than a decade and has served as the Vice Chairman on the board. So we are here with the distinguished panelists. Please give a big round of applause. Our moderator for this panel discussion is Mr. Ghilani. Without much ado, let's begin with the discussion. Over to you.
Thank you very much for the very kind introduction, and wish you all a very warm welcome and good afternoon, friends. The key topic of our panel today with a very unique mix of very senior professionals from the human resources side, from the capital markets and commodities and research side, is linked to how data, artificial intelligence, machine learning can be used in our BFSI sector, within that the human resources function. And while I was just sitting there and ma'am was very kindly introducing all of us on stage, I was trying to think and connect the dots with what one of the key discussion points we are going to bring today. How relevant data is important, and at times how too much excessive data can be in fact harmful or redundant or cause us difficulty in making decisions. For example, in a subtle manner, I don't know how many of you noticed, as soon as she announced my name and just one line, I stood up and I came here. Baith gaya main shanti se. All the other additional data points was of no use to any of you, with due respect, right? Now, who wants to know what I did when I was in 1998 or whatever might be the situation, right? Did that data add any additional value to what decision making you're going to take based on what the outcome from here is going to be? Maybe not. And if you want, at the back end somewhere in some memory of storage, it must have been circulated in the agenda which was curated and the invitation which came to you. So what I mean, friends, and kickstarting the discussion today also, is that we are living in a world where we have huge data sets, huge amounts of information and data, very crucial and very important, no doubt. But at certain points of time, we also need to learn to be able to work with the data in the best possible manner, which is what will drive our success, especially in the BFSI industry. Likewise, in most industries, not like that, anything singling out this particular segment, but structurally, in the BFSI industry, when you are driving a business function or you are driving human resources as a business partner or as a key driver of the entire business, more specifically, why I'm saying this, because typically speaking, BFSI is a manpower or a human resource intensive company. Some of the earlier panelists, they were talking about manufacturing side, etc., where plant and machinery is the key capital and the key cost going towards that particular aspect, whereas here it's all human resources and individual people who are contributors. So very important to work around with data and the way in which that data can be processed for good decision making when we are running a very important human resource function for the banking and financial services industry. So with that, I'm just going to kickstart and try to bring together a very engaging discussion. I know we'll have a lot of questions towards the end, but if in case during our discussion or when any of the friends on the panel is saying something and something clicks in your mind, don't hesitate, just jot it down in your pencil or in your smartphone, and definitely we'll raise it and discuss it out. So as we kickstart, I just wanted to quickly first go around the stage over here with a very diverse set of people, that how important do you think data is, and what are some of the common challenges that are being faced by the human resources function in terms of the data, in terms of data collation, in terms of data processing. So maybe I'll start with Bardhan sir, from running the function for a very large bank with pan-India presence. How do you see this particular issue, and whether how it's impacting decision making with data backed analytics?
So I think first of all, you give, I think, a very good introduction to the entire data dilemmas with data, as we can call it. Okay. So I think, see, one very important thing to remember, I think, is whatever the technology, whatever the data is you're looking for, hunting for, it is very important to have clarity as to what you want to achieve. Okay, because many times we get pulled by data in different directions and we lose sight of what we actually want to achieve, right? So if you're talking about performance management, what are those parameters of performance that you want to measure? What is the source for the data for those parameters, and therefore how will you assess performance, right? Now many times what happens is you can get a lot of data, you can do a lot of analysis, and sometimes over analysis leads to analysis paralysis, as we say, right? Because you just want more and more data. Now that happens because you don't have clarity as to what you want to achieve in the end. And to define what you want to achieve is actually the skill, right? Because from there, when you work backwards, you get to know exactly what are the variables you're looking for, and therefore what is the relationship between these variables, and therefore you can come out with a case to say that, we'll take this decision, or take X decision, or take Y decision. Okay, that is one very important part that is there as far as data, the use of data is concerned. Second is, I think I would like you all to just separate two parts. Okay, analysis and analytics, they're not the same thing. Okay, many often people get confused between the two. Analysis is when you're working on historical data. Okay, analytics is when is more predictive, that you got data.
Absolutely.
And then you start predicting what will happen tomorrow, right? Now, my personal experience in HR is that analytics so far, at least as we speak today, at this point of time, analytics is highly overrated. Okay, because many organizations are operating at different size, scale, etc. So, for example, some organizations may have 2 lakh employees like the way we have. Some organizations have 500 employees. Not to say that they are, small or whatever. They're big in their own way. But I'm just saying is that they have 1,000 employees, 500. So, analytics and predictive analytics and statistics thrives on when there is an ocean of data. Okay, that's why in many marketing, like many of you might have, you'll use YouTube, etc., etc. Sometimes you're surfing for something and immediately an ad appears, right? Because there's a lot of data modeling happening at the back end, which is actually understanding your behaviors, your interests, and are flashing those advertisements, right? Now that is analytics. Because they're predicting your behavior, and that is based on thousands and thousands and thousands of data points. Now those data points may not be available in HR, because HR has only 500 employees and you have only so many interactions, right? And sometimes it's very important not to over engineer things. Okay, keep it as simple as possible. So while analytics you can use for real customer behavior, because that covers crores of people, data points, in HR primarily it may be more of analysis. So I'll just give a small illustration, then I'll leave it to
Sure.
pass around. I will not take much of your time. Okay, is that what typically happens is, now let's take for example attrition, right? Attrition is always, you see it in the newspapers, it's very talked about across industry, right? Now if I want to know which of my population is going to attrite the most, I really do not need high-end analytics to tell me that. I will just do a small pattern. I'll just do analysis last 5 years, and I realize that actually, new joiners attrition is the highest. Okay, most of the time it's the new joiners who leave within 1 year. Now, do I really need high-end analytics to tell me that? No, it's just simple analysis and pattern that can tell me that. Now, I can also say that now, who are the other category of people who may leave me? Now, people obviously who are not rated very high in the performance appraisal, maybe the second category of people who leave me. Right? So these are very simple data points and insights that you can get, not by using high-end analytics, but simple analysis. Right? So the key thing I would say is we need to define the objective as to what we want to achieve before we get to what we want to do with the data and what data we need.
I think that's a great point, and I think carrying that further, very beautiful way you outlined that sometimes even if there is a big hype around AI, ML data, how are you using AI in your work? Maybe it's not needed, it's some very simple data points. In a very beautiful way you mentioned that yes, okay, I just want to know that where is the highest attrition. I don't need any fancy data, I just need that yes, okay, the first year candidates who have joined us, they are going to be the fastest, and hence I as a HR function or my team, I have to focus more on them and make sure that they are well taken care of, and my job is done.
Yes.
No need for any much fancy computing power or AI and analytics and all. Let media keep reporting about that how much ever they want. So wonderful point, I think. Moving on to human resources part only, and then I'll come to you back from the business angle, how you are seeing things. So Senthil sir, I would just like to highlight from your side, just get your perspective of, similar to this angle, do you think that AI and ML will have some role already being played, maybe at your organization, what you are doing, or what you are thinking that it will start playing a role in human resource related decision making, or in the way in which you support business functions in your decision making?
Sure. Thanks. We firmly believe that AI should be led by NI. Artificial intelligence should be led by natural intelligence, because AI is developed by people who has the NI. So somewhere I think that is getting lost in current era, which is very critical as far as we go. Uh, Coming back to what Mr. Gilani said is the organization, especially in the BFIC space, has a lot of scope in terms of using data, using ML, using AI. Why? We are the one of the companies or group of companies which has lot of consumers, users which will use the financial products across the journey of the life. Even as a child, parents used to start financial products for them. When they become adult, there is a subsequent planning on the marriage, higher growth, higher colleges, abroad goes for them. Then marriage expenses. Then their career start in terms of entrepreneurship or some of the other thing which they want to aspire. Then the middle age, then the retirement. If you see across the life journey, financial products somewhere plays a role. And that's the reason AI has taken a lead in the BFSI space when compared to the other industries. Now, we as an organization largely depend on that. Coming to specific to HR piece, we have three important stages. The onboarding stage to select and hire a right candidate. And if you have done a right decision, they have to perform well. And if they are performing well, they have to continue with us for a longer time. Am I right? These are the three things which every organization should look forward.
Correct. Yeah,
and
absolutely.
all three things, as Mr. Badan also highlighted, we play an important role using data. Starting with hiring, he touched upon a very important area. We don't have to think out of the box to understand which people to hire. We simply do a simple analytics of last 5 years or few years. Who are the people who have done well in the organization? What is the geography, age, exposure, education, vintage? We got the data, so we don't have to spend heavy money out of that. We feed this information in our system and we capture a new talent and align to that. We got a best of the talent and then we use this AI platform to hire them. That is how the subsequent lever goes. Analysis of performance also. Which are the people, which geography, with what age group, with what background are doing well. We do that data. We are in the process of feeding this and understand what motivates them and supply the same to the new people. And the most important concern for the entire industry is what Mr. Badan has highlighted, attrition. This has been a perennial problem. It will be a problem because of a lot of opportunities being available. Same logic of using AI is being used over there also. So all three stages, AI is important. But one thing what we are believing over and above AI is NI to drive this culture very well. I think this is something.
Oh, that's something interesting, and to be very honest, I never thought of this concept of NI, and it's really very engaging. I mean, we often hear about things like in very basic context, like okay, there is the EQ and there is the IQ, and then there is a context of that in PQ. Now this is extension of the ML and AI, and then moving on to NI. So very engaging and very interesting way how all of us over here need to enhance our knowledge of NI. So while many of you friends might have considered to maybe take on some side course or maybe go for some specific learnings about technology, about coding, about how to manage big data and incorporate AI into your future careers or in your current business and professions, I feel it's very crucial the way in which we just discussed, Senthil mentioned that how we need to enhance our awareness and our implementation of NI, which is very critical basically. Now, continuing from the AI and NI and the context of data, just I wanted to take a slight pivot with a very relevant context from the human resources side, that how a business owner, how somebody like a Parag sir who is running a large team of people, driving a business of research and analytics, tracking the capital markets, investing money, taking very fast decisions and very relevant decisions based on data for business side, how you are seeing this kind of a use of data when you are engaging with your, let's say, HR business partner for these three things, how Senthil mentioned. One is onboarding the people, one is the ongoing management, and the third is their performance measurement system. And how important do you feel that data management is for this part of your engagement with the HR, such that you run a very vibrant and active and motivated team who can deliver for your business?
Yeah, thank you. Basically, everyone sitting here are from the HR side? No, they are mixed. Okay. So basically, how we think, there are different levels of requirement actually. So when we go to HR, when there is a first initial level, normally we say that we need a person, okay, who is not so postgraduate, okay. The first question is who is not postgraduate for say advisory level, a first dealing level, advisory level. So for a retail segment, for a PCG segment, yes, we need a postgraduate. For a retail segment, we say that we don't need a postgraduate. That is a bifurcation which we give to HR. Because we need a mass actually, 100 people, 200 people, that way we need a mass. So why that? So normally HR asks questions. Okay, why that? Why you are specifically saying that for retail you need a graduate? Because it is not so big. Normally postgraduates are ambitious people. Postgraduates are ambitious people. Why not?
Certainly.
Okay, why not? Okay. So when they go to post-graduation course, they always say that I am going to be directly to a middle management. That I am going to be to a little bit up to not at the first level, but a second level or third level. If you give them a job at a first level, then it is obvious that they will be switching within 6 to 8 months or 1 year. So there where we have analyzed the attrition on the basis of a simple data. Why this is happening. Second thing normally we ask that we need to understand the family background.
Correct. Wonderful point, yeah. Yeah.
We need to understand the family background. So is he a resident here or is he coming from outside? So difference between these is if a person is coming from outside, he will carry little bit more expenses. So if he carries little bit more expenses, that means he will tend to jump within 6 to 8 months.
Correct. Good point.
Okay. So this is the way of thinking which normally as an experience for so many years handling retail and PCG segment. So normally this is an experience which I am sharing. Just sir said that it is NI which is coming into the picture. Eh?
Yeah.
So
correct.
So normally experience comes into the picture. Normally we share with our team leaders also that it is not necessary that at a first level or at a retail level you need a person with an high IQ. See, in every industry we are not doing what you say. Normally we use the word research. Okay, it is something into the universe. We research it and we give it. So data is available there. Okay, so data is available there. So don't think it is a rocket science. This is what it is, an experience and a practice. Because of that, a person has become an expert. It is nothing more than that. So when you are, say, at a first level or a second level, don't think yourself that a person who is there in the industry for more than 10 years or 20 years knows much more than you, because he is also learning every day, you are also learning every day. So reading is very important. In any industry, it is not only our broking industry.
Yes.
In any industry, reading and data understanding is important. Here where research comes into the picture. Okay, we termed it that way. So for masses, actually we think that way. There is a bifurcation of retail requirement, there is a bifurcation of PCG requirement, also there is a bifurcation of their wealth management and that requirement. For wealth management, yes, we need an affluent class of people who can influence their relatives, who can influence. So that way the bifurcation comes and we think and we give the requirement to HR.
No, very engaging point, and that just indicates how important it is for a business side to communicate in the right way with the right set of data for the HR business partner for their success, to ensure that there is a very good integrated way of hiring or for retaining or for retention of your team basically. No, that's great, that's great. And I think carry on further from that and coming back to you, Bardhan, I mean, you mentioned in a very good way about how some of the technology company or some of the Google Analytics that we all do, and we all must be facing that like daily. I mean, like you mentioned, some ad comes up. I faced it similarly. I came a little bit early, and there was a nice Nescoffee center over there, you know, in your cafeteria, and I just paid there with my GPay basically, you know. And little later on, while I was coming in here, and some on my Instagram feed, some some coffee shop ad popped up. I mean, so I don't know how it happens, but they have huge amount of data, and like you mentioned, Bardhan, we as a human resource person, or we have a lot of data privacy issues. We have a lot of constraints in terms of how much data we can mine, and with such speed. This was like within like half an hour's time, basically, So, as a HR professional, as a human resources team, while you implement data-driven decision making, or you use maybe not that 1 lakh, 2 lakh data points, but let's say 300, 400 or 50, 20 data points in your HR IMS system, or pardon me if I'm not using the right word, HR, I mean, what we call as the HR systems. Are you facing some kind of challenges for data, maybe in terms of regulation, I don't know, or maybe in terms of privacy laws, or maybe simply in terms of storing and warehousing and mining the data, and how do you as an organization, or how do you as a HR business leader deal with that basically?
So I think that's a very fundamental question. I think a very good question. So actually, when all of you all join the workforce, which you all eventually will at some point of time, right? I think one thing that has always struck me in my last 25 years of career is the accuracy of data. Okay, and all the time. Okay, and we never ever been able to get it right. But okay, it's always you go into some meeting and you realize that there's some data inaccuracy. Okay, and I don't know whether people have experienced the same.
Absolutely.
So this is something that actually is something that stuns me, because it looks like as if in 25 years we've done not improved anything in HR. So what happens typically is, I think every day we are transacting things. Okay, and believe me one thing, again, when you'll enter the workforce, you'll again find one more thing is adoption of technology is very different with different people. So you may have the best technology, absolutely best, the most expensive state-of-the-art technology, but ultimately a human has to go and make an entry over there. Because technology is not about not following process. You have to follow still process. You have to follow a process, right? And many people across levels, right? Not everybody wants to really go to a system and do the hard work of entering data into the system, ensuring that all the information is there. Now, if I, as a simple HR person sitting in Delhi, if I don't input the right data, when I take out a report in Bombay, I will not see the right data.
Absolutely.
Or if there's a delay, okay, something I was supposed to do yesterday, I take 4 days to enter it, then again when the report comes out, it will be inaccurate. Right? So the biggest challenge, I would say, today in anything you do, okay, with respect to HR process or even maybe business processes, but business processes, because they tend to be more regulated, especially in our industry. I mean, you may not face this problem. But in HR, what I see is that the discipline of adhering to a process, of filling data is still a big problem, and I've seen it across companies. Okay. Second thing that is there is, see, when you use tools like AI, ML, all these tools that you use, okay, they are running on data. Okay. Now, and there's a lot of hard work required before you make AI effective. Okay, because the feed that you go is like what he said is about natural intelligence, right? You collate the data, you put the data in. Now, if you put garbage in, you know garbage out, right? It's a very simple thing. So I think the biggest challenge that we have is maintaining accurate and real-time data, and this is not because the technology is poor, it is because people lack the discipline to go and update systems on time. Okay, now you see, you may have the best PMS system in the world, best, but you'll still find people who will not go and do the self-appraisal properly in the system. Or even if they go and do the self-appraisal, the quality of appraisal will not be good. Okay, so whatever you may do, whatever technology you may do, ultimately whoever has to input data, whoever has to access the system, right, if they are not committed, or if they are not, that input is not of high quality, you will not get the results ever. Okay, and you will experience this as you go into organizations, right? And always in finance you will have reconciliation issues. In in HR also you will have this of the person joined maybe at some time, but data is not reflecting in the data. Things like that, right? So I think that is the part about data. So I think it's about human discipline in maintaining adherence to process and having a discipline in dealing with data. Because data is about discipline.
Sure.
Okay? Because if you're not disciplined, your data will go haywire.
Got it. Yeah. But I'll just come to you once again that like from a business perspective, when you are dealing with HR and data is there, let's say for example in the third part of the ecosystem, how Senthil mentioned that one is onboarding the people, then the ongoing management of them, and then the third very crucial part is about remuneration or about performance management rather. And you give a good example that there is one segment of people who are very young professionals, maybe they are easy to attrition out, there is some level of middle management, senior management. you will need different type of ways to handle them and retain them. How do you feel that is data and data related mining going to help in that performance management process, or do you feel it's still going to be very subjective, human driven, emotion attached, connecting with the business, like in some way like data versus emotional connect basically,
See, normally what happens ki overall picture probability we get that because of XYZ reason people are living. For example, due to birth, but obviously the task driven culture.
Of course.
Okay. Then second thing is your particular remuneration is XYZ bit lower than the competitive. Okay. And the third one is your performance bonus is not up to the mark as per the market. Okay. So normally these three things normally we get as per data. Okay. But majorly we have seen that how to handle the people is much more critical. It is not the money. Currently what is happening actually to the Gen Zs and millennial, they are comfortable at their home.
Yeah.
Okay. They are well equipped with their all requirements. They are comfortable at their home, and they are in a surplus.
Yeah.
Because of their families.
Absolutely.
Okay. So you can't directly hit them at first 3 months.
Yeah.
Okay. You have to give them buffer. Okay. You have to give them buffer. You have to gel them up. We have a culture actually. We have a culture that every quarter we take them out.
Oh, that's nice. Interesting.
Every quarter we take them out for a short picnic type of a thing overnight. Okay. So the leaders has to shell out a major part.
Sure, of course.
Okay. And to gelling, the basic concept is gelling. So we have seen that it is not only money. Money is hardly 10 or 20% part. But current generation, they don't like dominant behavior.
Yeah.
So here actually we manage psychologically rather than monetary.
Absolutely. So data is there, it's important, it forms a base, but you need to overlay it with a lot of emotional connect, you need to overlay with a lot of tricks to ensure that they feel comfortable and inclusive.
Money is there for 10 to 20%.
Sure.
Their money means because of their, I said no, there are different layers. People are staying, local peoples, some people come from outside. So you have to understand how many people are coming from outside.
Yeah.
That means they have an additional cost.
Absolutely.
So, but obviously they are bound to go for money first.
Yeah.
Because of their conditions. It is that way. So we understand the data and we manage that way.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think carrying on further from the data and the way in which business gives data to HR or other way around, how overall for managing people we use huge amounts of data. One important thing I want to bring out to share also, and maybe I'll request Senthil if you can share some context from there, that in terms of as a HR function, as a human resource professional, as a people manager, what kind of data or let's say certain metrics to measure or your KPIs that you put in place which you can share with the larger organization or with the business side, which will indicate the way in which or how certain initiatives or certain decisions or certain projects that HR is doing for people management, for L&D is captured in the right way, and that data is used for better people engagement.
So whenever we look at data, first jumping into the data is not something which is right. What we believe and what we practice is, there are some intervention which has happened in the past. There are some work which our predecessors have done. Let us give respect to that. Let us understand what was the outcome of that.
Right.
That is the first analysis we get into, rather than jumping into a fresh track.
Right.
There are some insights available. We put it in the table, and then we get into the large data formation. Now, data is abundant in nature. Data is nothing but a combination of two things, a numerator and a denominator. How many of you agree with this? Data is nothing but a combination of two things, a numerator and a denominator. Now, classic example, we are an employee force of 38,000, and I say, for example, 500 people exited in our organization. Now, a lot of people, what they do? 500 divided by 38,000, this is the attrition percentage. Am I right? Which may not be right. 500 people of what juncture, what channel, what location, vis-a-vis denominator. Denominator cannot be same everywhere. Now that is a problem which we have. That's what our colleague also has highlighted. So there is where we really request, urge and promote a presence of natural intelligence. Whenever you apply this, your data mining skills get refined. So take the required data for the required job rather than jumping and taking everything available in the universe. So here the first thing which we believe in ourselves is, please decide what not to pick. What
Perfect.
not
Great
to do.
point, yeah.
This is, I think, the underlying statement. Second, respect what the predecessors have done. Understand the outcome of that exercise. Third, with this too, use your natural intelligence, which comes from your reading, learning, discussion, and also the naive of understanding the comprehension of the data. I think these three are required further getting into analysis. Data is available abundant in nature. I think this is what I feel should be part of this, and we also do in our organization.
No, that's great, and thanks for sharing. It's a very important thing to keep in mind that till the time we don't give out the right set of data, the impact of what we are doing can't really be appreciated as well. So friends, I mean, we've completed a very engaging round of 6 large themes or topics within data and how it can be used for people management, for human resources, and from business side. I've got one last question as a sort of quick rapid fire to all 3 of them. But before that, I know that a lot of you, while I mentioned in the beginning, keep thinking of the questions, but maybe some of you have thought, some of you have not thought. I'm very keen, right from the back or somebody in the front, to take some questions. So if we have a mic, some of the volunteers can keep it ready. As soon as we finish this quick rapid fire round, I'll come to the questions from the audience. Okay, and then I know we'll all maybe take a small break and go for lunch or whatever. People are getting a little restless at the back, but very engaging discussion. Thanks. Coming back to the panel over here and taking on further. I mean, I'll start now very quickly from you, Bardhan sir. That how do you feel that in the next, let's say, 2 to 3 years, technology-related initiatives or data mining or something linked to such innovation will help in the human resource function, basically in BFSI industry, you know?
So I think what will happen is that typically I think I'll take it in just quickly 2-3
Sure.
parts. See, one part is are today reports more visible? Answer is yes. So earlier which people used to do it manually.
Yeah.
Is visibility to performance slightly better? Maybe yes, because again technology has enabled all that, right? The transactional data that is there, right? Okay, that will get automated. Okay, so that will go out. So for example, even today, very few reports are made in HR. Okay, because business directly has a view of what my headcount number is, what my this is, everything, all those which earlier HR would prepare in Excel and send. Right, that's all gone.
Correct.
Okay, now only that what will happen is that you will have more data that is there for taking a decision. Okay, that will be made visible to people. But however, the decision making is still done by people.
Correct.
Right? Because AI is you can't hold AI accountable.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
So more things change, more they remain the same. So the biggest question is accountability really going to change in the AI world? And that's a debate that's happening even today. That who will be held accountable in an AI world?
Right.
Who will be held accountable for, right? Because you can't say system goofed up.
Yeah.
So I think so from that standpoint, I think all transactional data will get automated. You'll have more visibility of value-added data, okay, available, okay. But however, still the key thing that is there is the discipline of maintaining accurate data will still be something that the organization will still grapple with. Yeah, that's my view.
No, that's great. Very
And
interesting.
because every human psychology is such. Everybody doesn't have the same profile. Like you're a CFA, so you'll be very detail oriented and thorough. Yeah. Not everybody's like that. So if before you make an investment, you'll see 10 parameters. Many people may just call you and say, should I put money in this? And
Sure.
they don't want to go through details.
Yeah.
Right? So human behavior is very different. So therefore, even discipline to maintain data, everybody is oriented very differently.
Yes.
So I think that is still the bigger challenge today, if you ask me.
Got it.
To maintain accurate data and to have an input as accurate data is still, I think, a big challenge.
So great, thanks. And maybe in the next, like I said, couple of years, that is something which will be a big focus area for not just some of the companies that we represent, but for the broader industry as we grow. And friends, I think just taking on further, and before I come to Parag, it's very important that all of us keep it in mind that what we represent today and what we are discussing in this topic of the panel today, the BFSI industry. In the next couple of years, it's going to be very critical in terms of hiring, in terms of manpower, in terms of the contribution to our economy. At all points of time, whether you look at India or any other developing country, structurally, banking becomes the lifeblood of whatever we do. I came today in a EV vehicle. That EV was probably purchased on a lease from some large finance company. The finance company does some business when you buy that EV. I paid money through my mobile phone linked with my credit card. Some credit card company is making some money. We came here, I went to the UPI, bought my coffee. Again, some amount of digital technology, finance is connected to that. So whichever broad area you are aspiring to build your career in within the human resources space, do consider and do keep it in mind that BFSI is going to be one of the very big drivers of that, one of the very big hiring segment of the industry market. And hence, while you are in human resources side, or you are in people management, or you are in hiring side, you will have a huge potential, and you will need to be aware of this huge area whereby you can work in a good way for a career. And with that, coming to you, Parag, as a large manager and as a large hiring manager as well, and like carrying on further, let's say in the next 2 to 3 years, if suppose HR manager comes to you that, sir, I have done this very unique change in my onboarding system and hiring system, you don't need to meet any candidate. My hiring system will have, let's say, 50 data points, not the 100,000 data points which Google uses, but based on that data points, we'll filter out 500 candidates and give you 5 people. You can just hire them, bring them in your team and start working. Will you work with that, or will you say, nahi sir, aisa nahi chalega, mere ko sabse milna hai? Will you use data as a enabler, or will you go ahead that, okay, in some segment of my workforce, I'm happy to just use data for my hiring process? Just out of it, maybe in the next 2 years, do you think that happening?
No, basically, as per my experience, data is a support, a very good support, a probability that it can give you a picture, but not exactly a right picture, because ultimately humans are there. So emotions comes into the picture. So there are few data points which are missing in HR. I am just requesting Vardhanji and Senthil that there are few data points which are still missing. I normally ask that how many sportsmen are there, just kindly just jot it down. Okay, because and in sports, team sports, single sports, okay, then normally they ask me why. So because if a person is a sportsman and playing in a team, that means he can easily adjust himself into a team. So these are few points which are still not available in the data points. So please, if possible, build that. Okay.
Good, great point. Yeah.
Again, I normally ask a candidate that, have you ever got into a fight with in a college or in a school, fighting with somebody or on a street? So I have a basic questions to ask. The candidate thoda sa हिल जाता है. Why? So, well, I want to see his aggression.
Yeah.
How aggressive he is. See, there are different way of thinking. So, because of my experience, I ask so many questions which are very weird.
They're not weird, they're very practical.
But
correct,
nahi, my HR normally says that you can't ask such questions. So HR normally says, but I need to understand the behavior side of a person. If the behavior is not right, then how, if I don't understand the behavior, how can I fit him in a particular role?
Yeah. So it's important to know before you hire that person, correct? Yeah.
For example, if a person likes to play video game, okay, he doesn't likes to go out, so I should put him in an online business.
Yeah, you can't put her or him into sales function.
Okay. So the problem is that, are these data points available in the system?
Yeah.
So if not, we need to see, these are the future HR people. So you need to give that input. So these data also are required, that कितनी बार मारामारी किया है, कितनी बार झगड़ा किया है, कितनी बार स्पोर्ट्स खेला है, कितनी बार विन किया है, कितनी बार लूज किया है. So losing is also what? Losing, coming out again and playing and winning.
Yeah.
So that is very much required.
Sure.
Only winning is not required. Okay?
No, great point.
कभी हम क्लाइंट के पास जाते हैं, क्लाइंट हमेशा पैसे नहीं देता है ना. क्लाइंट बोलता है नहीं, ये प्रोडक्ट हमको अच्छा नहीं लगा.
Absolutely.
So that is where the behavior is a major part, which I have experienced since last 33 years. So normally data
Sure.
helps us
Yeah.
to filter the
Filter it
things.
out. Yeah, great. So, no, and moving on that, and to the last question to you, Senthil. I mean, like, you also are at the cutting edge technology being used in human resources, and to the similar question which I asked Parag, that will there ever be a situation where you feel that technology will take over this role of hiring people or onboarding, where there is large number of hiring to be done or candidates to be evaluated? Do you think that maybe in the next couple of years we will come to that point where linked to data and AI or generative AI will be able to eliminate the hiring manager's role and say, okay, as long as you are doing this, you are done with and you onboard in a job? I mean, do you think that's a reality in let's say next couple of years?
To give an instant response, the answer is 80% yes,
Okay.
or 75% yes,
Okay.
and 25%, 20% no. Why? I'll just give you with a
Sure.
rationale. We are all adults, and if I talk about something, you will have a fair idea. But if I disclose some data points, this is the reason. For example, classic example, certain movies getting released, certain identified locations, there are some data points available, or a product is launched, there are some data points available. That data points to be trusted first of all. So we as people within business and within HR has to have a naive of trusting the data. Generally, we always suspected data. So data should be first of all authentic. कहाँ से आ रहा है? Classic example, a data of Aadhaar, authentic. Data of UAN from PF, authentic. What these two does to organizations, I didn't to validate. मैं गिलानी साहब का, पराग सर का, बर्दन सर का UAN नंबर डाल दूं, यूनिक आइडेंटिटी ऑथेंटिकेशन नंबर ऑफ PF, मेरे को उनको पास हिस्ट्री समझ में आ जाएगा. Aadhaar, I can able to understand the location. These two helps us in hiring. So first, the data to be trusted. Second, in our organization, in the entire conglomerate, we give a larger importance to early talents. Early talents means people coming from colleges. Hiring these people has given us two benefits. One, they live longer in the system, and also they are performers. When compared to the lateral colleagues which we hire from the market who are experienced. Now this is a data point. Now this data points, can we stop the lateral hiring?
Certainly not.
Certainly not. To what extent you will do early talent hiring, to what extent you will do lateral hiring, that becomes your natural intelligence, business decision. So trusting the data is something which is very, very important. I'm just correlating a joke which in our home happened. There was two AI bots talking to each other. One AI was telling to other, will we really able to compete with the humans? In a manner, will we not able to compete with the humans? The other AI responded, don't worry, humans will continue arguing about which language is superior.
Right.
So in that stage we are in.
Yeah.
We completely trust on AI. It might be Gemini, it might be ChatGPT, it might be Alexa, it might be Siri, or it might be any of the upcoming generative AI. Think about a situation when they also want rest. What will happen?
Absolutely.
They too have a break. So in that situations, we always believe in natural intelligence, which to pick, which not to pick. As rightly said, who will be authentic in data-driven world? It is again the humans only. And humans' intelligence only will play a role, what to pick, what to drop. Data cannot be accountable for the success or failure. They're just the enablers for us. That's something.
That's wonderful. That's great. No, thanks. And very interesting to understand this aspect of how it can be maybe a 70-30 or a joint effort of the data-driven, artificial intelligence-driven component of the process basically. So great, thanks. And now quickly coming back to the audience, and any questions, comments, suggestions, anything anybody would like to quickly share? Yeah, of course, I'll give my mic away, madam.
Hello everyone, this is Nikita Desai here. Today's both panelist discussion were absolutely relevant today because we are also part of HR recruitment and data point of view. I'm running two organizations, telecalling outsourcing, where is data is imperative, and we are really working on the thorough data point of view. So HR point of view also, I had some suggestion. Like there are many portals which are really not capturing the data of the candidate. It is a standardized. If you see all resume services written in a same standard point of view, if we really work out on certain portals wherein this kind of candidates who are going to put their likings, disliking, handling the risk management situation, then definitely AI will be able to capture the nature or behavior of that candidate, and we can at least analyze that this candidate is fitting into our culture or criteria. So this is a small suggestion for the organization, institution who can have the best resume writing services basically, क्योंकि वही डेटा है जिस पे हम काम करते हैं, बाद में हम उनसे इंटरफेस करते हैं, बाद में हम उनसे बात करते हैं. बट इफ़ यू थिंक अबाउट वन मोर पॉइंट, आज आदमी जो पेपर पे लिखता है वो अलग है, और जब सामने आता है देन ही बिहेव वेरी डिफरेंट वे, तभी उसका एक्चुअली सारी चीज़ ओपन अप हो जाती है. तो डेटा इज़ रियली इम्पेरेटिव, बट डेटा के लिए सजेशन यही है कि कॉलेजेस, इंस्टीट्यूट्स इस तरह से कुछ पोर्टल्स लेके आए, जहाँ से अभी नेटवर्किंग में हम जाते हैं सबको कार्ड देते बैठते हैं, बट एक्चुअली हमारे सारे क्लाइंट हमारे नहीं होते. इनफैक्ट ये कॉलेज से अगर हमें कुछ 100,000 लोगों का डेटा चाहिए तो कल यू लिस्ट मिल जाएगी, बट डू आई रियली नीड टू हायर एवरीवन, और वो मेरे लेवल के लिए कैंडिडेट है कि नहीं. तो resume writing is the best one of the activity which I thought like to suggest from this panel through. That's all. Thank you.
See, I want to add something actually. We have experienced that life is means our career normally. Career is normally is bifurcated into two sides. One is task-based career, okay, and one is process-based career, okay. So you need to understand, the HR need to understand normally, when so business side gives a complaint that a particular person is not performing, and they will also come in the picture afterwards. So you need to understand, is this a task-based career? Means what is the profile he's been doing, and normally what HR do? HR blames business that you are putting a particular person into XYZ position and that's why he's going out. So this bifurcation also has to be inbuilt. Actually, ma'am said na, there should be many bifurcations in HR portal. So the bifurcation, without that we cannot analyze कि लोग छोड़ के क्यों जा रहे हैं.
See, just one thing over here I would just like to add is, that like you very rightly mentioned, I think, that see, whenever you come for an interview or whenever you put a resume, you're trying to impress, right? Because you want to look good, right? But what experiences you've gone through, like many, this J.K. Rowling very famously said, right? Your CV is not your life, your CV is not your life. So if you really ask me as an HR professional, I think a lot of people still struggle to really know whether this person will click here or not. Because in an interview, people are always trying to impress you, right? And it's very difficult to know exactly what they contributed in their experience, their history. And if you see CVs, they look very impressive. I've done this, I've done this. I know people who just spent 2 years in organizations who was part of the organization strategy and all, right? How will a person who's just spent 2 years with determining strategy for the organization? So, and over time, what happens is people get better at interviewing. People get better at selection, right? Because people tend to get more intuitive, right? So I think this entire part of how you assess the best candidate, how you guarantee success on the job while interviewing a person, is a $1 billion question. Okay, what can help you is sometimes you use the right tools to assess a person. So many people use an assessment center before they hire a person. So that will increase your probability of chances of success, whether this person will be successful. You may use a psychometric test, which will give you a slightly better input to what this person is. What he's saying is what is coming across and what is being told by all these things. And sometimes what happens also is that some of the tasks are very simple. Like sir mentioned, we segment talent, right? In all organizations we segment. See, in this segment I'll not spend more than 15-20 minutes interviewing a person. The guy is good, he's got high integrity. Most important is integrity. Integrity is good, he's qualified. If he's done BCom, BSc, whatever, that means he might have got reasonable common sense, right, to do the job, right? And he can speak well, is presentable, can talk well, everything else can be taught. Okay? Now, as you go higher, it gets more complicated, right? With leadership levels, it becomes more complicated. Then you can see the CV, but you still want to meet the person. As you know, as you hire for leadership levels, you go through multiple rounds of interviews. It's not only one person interviewing you, right? So it gets more complicated, and you want to be 10 times more sure, right? It's like giving a loan to a person. You want to see the background, you want to see the affordability, underwriting of a person is very, very, very difficult. So I think this is something that people, and very few managers focus on developing their hiring skills, because people think that anybody can do this job. Okay, so I think as all HR professionals, I think train yourself to and the best gift you can get is to hire 1,000 people in a year, because you'll get good practice, of seeing people, seeing the correlation, etc. Right? So more the practice, the better you get, and that's about HR. Okay, the more the practice, the better you get. The less the practice, the less good you will be. Okay, so this is one thing like I've never been able to crack at first time. Yeah. I hope that somehow gives you an answer, to whatever you're trying to say.
Yeah, that's a great point. No, but there was a very good point and a suggestion rather than a question, but it led to a very good engaging discussion. Any other last questions, friends, from the audience before we leave? Any other question? Yes, ma'am, please. Yeah.
Hi, thank you. My question is around probably when AI was not a culture. So what was your starting point, if anybody can share that experience of making it a culture, and maybe top 3 strategy as an HR or business person you took to integrate AI as a part of the culture?
See, depends on what you mean by AI, okay, over here, because in our case, AI would be right now, the way the stage of the organization is more like a chatbot, okay, who will answer transactional queries to people. Employees don't, a human does not have to answer queries, can be answered by a chatbot. Now, I think it's very important, my personal experience in technology is important to start small, okay, start small, you have a sample group, you expand that group, and then you do a rollout, okay, for any technology project. Okay, for any technology project or any HR initiative I've seen, it's better you do a pilot. The pilot shows good results. You expand it. It shows very good results, and you expand it further. You keep refining it as you expand the scale. Now in AI also there are various levels of AI that you got. Like so, for example, in many of you would know in chatbot now there's something called large language models. So just to give you a simple example, the earlier chatbots you have to feed in the questions. And depending on the questions, the chatbot answered, but you have to give those questions to the chatbot in the backend. So that's why I said it's a lot of hard work. It's a lot of hard work. When you tell people they want AI and you say, boss, I want this from you before I can enable it, they'll take 6 months because half the guys don't want to put the hard work in getting what it takes to run an AI, right? Then second is when let's say for example, I put a leave policy, okay, a bank's leave policy, I put it in the system. Now what a large language model does is you don't need to put an FAQ there. The bot will itself read the policy, see the question, and then depending on what the policy says, will answer the question. So that's one level advanced, right? And as we speak, it keeps getting advanced, and the bot also keeps learning as you go along, right? So I think currently, if you ask me, AI at least in our case is in HR is restricted right now to maybe responding to transactional queries. But yeah, as time goes by, obviously we'll better it, right?
There is a mass hiring actually we require AI.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's where we are currently.
There is a mass hiring.
Yeah. So in responding to queries that are very standard in nature, right? Because the moment now, can a bot answer like, what organization structure should I have? Can a bot answer that? No. Answer is no. It's a strategic query, right? You can't answer that. But yes, can you tell me, what is the leave policy of the bank? How many PLs am I entitled to? How many SLs? Which, if you've got 2 lakh people and calling you, right, it's going to be a large number. So if you have a bot answering it, it's much simpler, right? So that's how it is. So transactions are first that go, that will disappear, right? And then obviously then as the higher, like what happened to the BPO sector? BPOs were the low-end transactions. Then you had the KPO sector, which you are doing higher, transaction plus high-end. So same thing will happen with the AI. So first there is the transactional layer, then it will be slightly advanced and then more advanced and more advanced. Yeah.
Great, thanks, and thanks for a very engaging chat. I know there are a couple of other questions and hands going up.
Does that answer your question?
Yeah, but we have a little bit hard stop for the time. So I'm going to request a couple of the questions to continue on informal basis once we step down, and I'm going to hand it over back to the team over here. And just to close out, I think from a very engaging discussion and a good questions which have come up, I think structurally we are at a very good point today where human resources, where HR functions are going to be in a very big way drivers of the BFSI industry in general for the next couple of years to come. We heard from two very senior HR business partners and one very senior business owner of large financial services conglomerates, and I hope it gives a good context to you. Friends, personally, I am not from HR background, but over the last 2 weeks since the time I have been given the mandate to speak here today, I've done a lot of research and a lot of reading, and I realized that even though I engage with my HR business partners on a regular basis, I didn't appreciate to a great extent the kind of depth of the work, the kind of data analytics that go behind. I used to always feel that data, AI, ML is something which I have to worry about as an investment manager and as a research analyst. I never realized that it's so important for HR business partners to look at. I never realized, of course I do appreciate greatly, but it led me to think that today in most of the industries, but more specifically in the banking and financial services industry, which is a people-driven industry, it's not just the investment people or the sales people or the underwriters who will lead the companies or become CEOs, but on an ongoing basis, we already have many examples, and I believe many more to come, whereby CHROs or large profile HR professionals will soon be drivers of the companies and become CEOs. We have seen many such examples, and I think that's the way in which we are going to lead to the future, and data and analytics will be at the crossends of those things. So I urge many of you who are young professionals who are in their quest of knowledge enhancement, besides learning about the core elements of human resources and people management, do try to take some time out, learn something which is linked to data, mining data, maybe learn some coding language. Just for example, I don't know how many HR friends have done it now, so I apologize if it's a very common thing, but I'm just trying to highlight something out of the way. Learn some coding language. How many of you over here, maybe just to get my clarity, know a coding language like, Python or R or anybody? Wow, quite a few hands. So I urge you to maybe do a little bit more about that. Maybe some of these languages are a little old, like ma'am you mentioned, maybe for Python or R, one of the two maybe, right? Maybe Python, maybe Java, right? But maybe try to think that next 10, 15 years, which are going to be those very important languages which are going to drive the businesses, drive the data mining. Maybe new languages like Julia is a new language which is much more advanced and much more evolved. So right now the languages that we know, maybe they will soon get obsolete and newer languages come. So as a professional, always try to keep learning and enhancing data related activities in your roles. And with that, handing it back to ma'am. Thank you very much for being such a wonderful audience and patiently engaging with us. And I hope it was value add to you. Thank you.
We really thank all our esteemed guest speakers. It was truly an insightful discussion, opening up many tangents of, newer topics and more discussions in future. Thank you so much. Now I call upon Mr. Harsh Mittal, General Manager with the Alankar Group, to present a token of our appreciation to all the panel speakers. Mr. Pardhan Sharma. A big round of applause for the speakers. Mr. Parag Hindlekar. Mr. Senthil Kumar. And Mr. Anil Ghilani. Thank you so much to our volunteers. I would now like to request Mr. Harsh Mittal to give the vote of thanks.
You can please be seated. No issues. First of all, I think a very warm welcome again to all the people who came here today for the annual HR Summit. This HR Summit is the first edition that we have planned, and our commitment is that we will continue with the future years with the second and third and fourth. And I'm sure there will be very interesting topics, newer things to discuss, and I'm sure 1 year of a change would also be reflected. As we get to the end of the event, I would like to, first of all, thank and express my sincere gratitude to all our panel speakers. Today, we had almost close to 5 sessions. We had 17 panel speakers from diverse industries. So I would like to just give a round of applause for all the panel speakers today. I would also like to express my sincere gratitude to our management, our director, VDT, Milind Talwardkar sir, our CEO of VIT, Dr. Amit Oak, our esteemed principals and vice principals of VIT, VSIT, and VPT institutes. Actually, honestly, we were planning this event for almost a month, and without the leadership, without their commitment, without their support, it would not have been possible. I would also like to thank all the HR fraternity, our delegates, our alumni, our guests, our faculty, our students who have actively participated with all their enthusiasm. Finally, the people who work behind the scenes, thanks to the organizing teams who have tirelessly actually worked in the last couple of weeks to get this event together. You always see the front of the event, but behind the scenes, there are a lot of people who have put in a lot of effort. So thank you all the volunteers and our teams which have put together a great show. The HR Summit is a platform to inspire, educate, and connect people while focusing on building strong partnerships between industry and academia to create future-ready leaders. We heard a lot. I'm sure a lot of students who have been a part of this discussion would have learned new things. I'm sure we would request our students to also gain the right insights and try and see how best they can use it for their practice. We really look forward to many more such collaborations that will foster learning and growth at our institute. So thank you once again to all of you. But before we leave, we would just request, there are 2 small AVs that our partner has requested, IMC, Chamber of Commerce and Industry, to play it. We will play these AVs and then we can proceed for lunch. Thank you.
It is the long history of humankind that those who learn to collaborate and improvise most effectively have prevailed. A fine example of these words is the IMC Chamber of Commerce and Industry, formerly known as the Indian Merchants Chamber. The chamber is the voice of over 200,000 corporates with a combined strength of more than 4,500 members and 220 trade and educational institutions. Identified as a chamber with a global presence, IMC is on the board of the World Chambers Federation and has signed MOUs with the United Nations and more than 150 other chambers of commerce across various countries and government agencies. With the numbers still growing, the IMC has gained the strength to be the undisputed voice of Indian industry.
We are very proud of the fact we therefore represent the cream of the cream industry in this country. On the one hand, we help our members. On the other, we submit recommendations to the government so that they can institute policies which can ease and accelerate the business in India. Our activities include running seminars, holding exhibitions, we host inbound delegations, we take outbound delegations, and we facilitate international trade, which we believe is crucial to India's development.
IMC has spanned over 11 decades. To understand the spirit of IMC, one must go back in time.
Indian Merchants Chamber started in 1907 under the leadership of the visionary Manmohan Das Ramji, the eminent Indian businessman.
The economic policies of the then alien government in India were dictated by associations which had no other interests but to look after the welfare of the colonizers and traders. And it was such associations, uncaring and unfair economic policies that made Indian traders and merchants realize the need to form their own chamber, Indian Merchants Chamber.
These gentlemen of great experience, great patriotism, lent their support, their advice and their knowledge to government in formulating policies.
I want to compliment the IMC on its proactive liaison and advocacy efforts with ministers, senior bureaucrats, and civil society. Its repository of accumulated knowledge, its long experience, and the cohesion amongst its institutional and corporate members enable the IMC to work very closely with the Indian government on policy matters essential for development and growth.
This was the only chamber whose honorary membership Mahatma Gandhi accepted. Starting with only 23 members, the IMC's membership grew over the years, with many prominent icons of industry as members, as well as parliamentarians and those who later became cabinet ministers. From Dr. Sarvapalli Radhakrishnan to Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam, and from Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru to Shri Narendra Modi, IMC has the rare honor of visits by almost all the presidents and prime ministers of India. Inaugurated by Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel in 1939, this prestigious IMC building stands in the heart of South Mumbai. In 1967, as a memorial for the late Mr. F.E. Dinshaw, a well-equipped commercial and financial library was built. The then Honorable Chief Justice of the Mumbai High Court, Mr. Mohit Shah, inaugurated IMC's International ADR Center.
Cases are pending for years and years. IMC has taken a lead and set up an international ADR center which will cover all alternate dispute resolutions, including reconciliation and mediation.
The IMC Praveen Ravi Gandhi Chair in Banking and Finance, who instituted to perpetuate the memories of late Sri Praveen Gandhi, who was a trustee as well as a past president of IMC. The chair serves dual purposes: promote our own national university of eminence, that is the Mumbai University, and secondly, fulfill the long felt need as there was no chair for banking and finance in the University of Mumbai.
IMC also has a strong ladies' wing, promoting professional excellence of women entrepreneurs.
In these past years, we have achieved a lot. We have empowered a lot of women from the urban sector. For Impact, which we hold on Women's Day, we found that the woman artisan in the rural area is to be celebrated. So we synergized with the urban woman and the rural woman and brought each other into focus.
IMC initiates a number of conferences on topical national interests in various sectors like infrastructure, banking, financial services, aviation, urban development, railways, and many more. IMC also hosts a number of foreign and Indian dignitaries.
IMC approached me to help them get involved in actually creating a startup committee. Our agenda, therefore, was defined as thought leadership, advocacy, and partnerships, and extremely excited to participate with several youngsters from across the state, and we spoke about building companies and entrepreneurship.
A variety of awards have been initiated by IMC to encourage innovation, quality, and development in various fields.
IMC is very proud to have the Ramkrishna Bajaj National Quality Award and the Juran Quality Medal. This we started over 20 years back to get Indian corporates to assist them to be able to focus on quality and compete in the world. I must also mention the IMC Juran Quality Medal, and that is given to an individual. The Ramkrishna Bajaj National Quality Award is for corporates, the most prestigious quality award in the country.
IMC encourages innovation, recognizing outstanding services and accomplishments of organizations and individuals with the Inclusive Innovation Awards.
And there was a reason to create these awards, Inclusive Innovation Awards. See, India needs growth, but it has to be inclusive growth. And for that, you require inclusive innovation, because it is only innovation-led growth that can take India up there.
In terms of social responsibilities, IMC has been active through a number of forums. As India races towards a bright future, the IMC is accentuating its progress with its vital strength and leadership by aligning its aims with those of the governments, ensuring India's transformation to a fully developed economy.
IMC will do everything in its power, and so will its members, to achieve this objective, to put India on that pinnacle which India deserves to be.
Our collective ambition must be to take India, Indian enterprises, and the Indian economy to the top of the global ladder. Let us build a grand coalition of all Indians under the auspices of IMC for building a new India today. IMC will have a big role to play in building and nurturing this partnership.
आप जिस संस्था का हिस्सा हैं, उसका बहुत ही गौरवशाली इतिहास रहा है। स्वदेशी आंदोलन की पृष्ठभूमि में इसकी स्थापना हुई है, कुछ न कुछ योगदान दिया है, और इसके लिए आपकी संस्था प्रशंसा के पात्र है। आईएमसी मैं आपका बहुत बहुत आभारी हूं। धन्यवाद।
Signing off for today, I, Dr. Miki Barua, recall the words of the great leader, late Sri Ratan Tata ji. Life is not about finding yourself, it is about creating yourself. Until we meet again, happy trails to all. Kindly rise for the national